Hello and happy Tuesday. As some of us didn't realize that today wasn't Monday until very late in the day, as we discovered backstage. But hello, happy Tuesday. Welcome to another episode of Top 5, where we are still taking advantage of May and Star Wars month, and we are keeping it all things Star Wars. And tonight we are ranking our top 5 favorite Star Wars characters. What's up, Jason? How are you doing?
Not too much, as like you said, somebody forgot today was Tuesday instead of Monday, so I had to be like, oh yeah, I only have a couple hours left till the start. So yeah, I was that person.
So, do you have a good? Did you have it yesterday off?
I made myself have yesterday off because I was coming back from a video game tournament over the weekend that I was at. So yeah,
Cool. Yeah, I had a day off, so that was nice. Especially with all the traveling and stuff I've been doing for work. It was nice to get an extra day off. So, with that, we will introduce our panel, most of which you already know, and most of them were on our last top 5 we were ranking Star Wars video games. But first off, we got my good buddy Carl of Cult of Carl of RNG, Adam, whatever you want to call him. What's up, man? How's it going?
A lot of people like to call me different things, but this is a more friendly show, so I'm happy about that.
So, well, welcome. Glad you could join us for another episode of Top 5.
Oh, anytime. I always appreciate being invited on, and I love hanging out with all my favorite people on the internet.
Yes, you're always fun to have on. Next up, we got another good friend, Fractured Filter. Good evening, good sir.
Good evening, everyone.
So,
how are y'all doing?
Doing good. Glad you are here again to join us for another great Star Wars discussion.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
We'll
Tough
see
one
if
to nail down too.
Okay, let's say we'll see if your avatar gives away any of your top 5.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Unsurprising, I have some things that might indicate what are in my top 5. Wink, wink. But
nudge, nudge.
Yeah, nudge, nudge. Our last panelist is a first time to the YouTube, and he is my best friend in real life, and he is a big Star Wars nerd as well. So when we decided we're going to do Star Wars characters, I text him, hey, would you want to be on this one? And he was actually in the chat on our top 5 video Star Wars streams, a couple weeks ago. And He's like, yes, I would love to rank top 5 video game characters. Hey, this is my buddy. What's up? Good. Glad you could join us tonight.
What's up, guys?
Oh, you did change it. Okay.
His
nice.
name changed again.
His name changed. So because
multiple times.
Yeah. So thank you. This is Rozik. His name is probably one of his top 5 picks. So I was like, you should probably change before we go live just to keep a little bit of suspense. But I'm glad you could join us tonight.
Glad to be here. Thanks, man.
Yeah. So excellent. All right. Well, we're going to get on into it. But before we do, we like to go through a couple of background for each of us. Some of us, we kind of went through this on the last stream, but can't hurt to go over it again. Just want to get a little bit of background on everyone's introduction to the Star Wars franchise. So for me, it was my dad had the VHS, the standard, not the widescreen set, but the special editions on VHS when I was a kid. And that was my first introduction to Star Wars, and I fell in love with it immediately. And even after watching it like once, I already knew more about it than my dad. So he's always like quoting stuff. I'm like, no, you got the quote wrong. It's like, are you kidding me? I'm like, no, you need to get it right. But let's go ahead and start off in reverse order. Rozik, what was your first introduction to Star Wars?
Actually, very similar to yours, only I think I had an even better introduction because I got to witness the original trilogy on VHS. No specialized editions, no despecialized editions, just exactly, literally as they were, theatrical release before George decided to, add any of his personal edits to it. Anyway, so that was my first introduction. I was probably about, how old was I? Probably around 10. I think I was like 10 years old and my brother was 8. And we saw 4, 5, and 6 in that order. And then eventually, we saw the Phantom Menace because I think Phantom Menace came out in 99.
Yes.
But I would have only been 7 years old at the time. And my mom was like, no, they're still a little too young for Star Wars. Let them get a little bit older. So Phantom Menace came a little bit later.
Okay.
And then I remember I was peak nerd by the time episode 2 Attack of the Clones was about to come out on theaters. I was just absolutely beyond hyped for that movie. I remember the trailers for that thing over and over and over again playing in my head.
Nice. So it's good that you got started with the original trilogy, even though
Mm-hmm.
Phantom Menace was out by that time.
Yes, exactly.
So cool. All right. And Filter, give us a little bit of a refresher on your intro. I think it was just your idea that we talked about this on last stream.
Was it? Oh, cool.
I think so. I could be wrong, but
I'll take it. No.
I'll attribute it to you either way.
Yeah. So, I mean, my most introduction was probably from my mom renting him from the old mom and pop places of video rental stores back in the day when you had to rewind them before you sent them back.
Oh, I remember that.
Oh yeah, Be Kind and Rewind or whatever.
That was a pretty good movie.
But yeah, that was I got introduced to the original trilogy, like Rosnick said, pre George Lucas special editions and stuff like that. So flaws and all, but enjoyed it. I probably didn't really start getting into Star Wars until, like I said last stream, between playing Shadows of the Empire for the first time and Dark Forces 2 were just definitely those kickoff points of like, oh, there's even more being added to this whole wacky universe. All right, I'm in, I'm down, I'm signed up. And then a little bit later, yeah, we started. The Phantom Menace dropped. I was probably, so that's 99. I was going into high school pretty much, so I was little freshman. And I mean, then that was kind of like for maybe a lot of us, that was kind of our trilogy that we got to enjoy and be a part of. And then it was just kind of all off from the races, and I eventually got deeper into the EU and found the true lore. and yes. Even more, and certainly what helped expand for finding myself even more characters beyond just the classic trio of Han, Luke, and Leia. So
nice.
Yeah.
All right. Good stuff. And Carl, what was your introduction?
I can't really remember exactly the first time I actually sat down and watched Star Wars, but I just remember I had to be no more than 5 years old, and I think they were on TBS constantly as a kid. So I would always watch them every time they were on.
With commercials and all?
Yeah, with commercials and all. And got me into playing all the video games, obviously. Some probably very unique choices from our last episode. And I was just around that ripe old age of also when the prequels started to come out, and it just kind of kept going and growing from there with the comic books, the expanded universes, video games, obviously. And I think I'll stop where all the good memories are.
All right.
There you go.
And Jason, what about you?
Yeah, I think it's all been said. I think all of us watched them on VHS at one point. So yeah, I was same kind. My dad told me we got to watch this movie as I was a very, very young kid. Then watched all 3 of them on VHS, and then next you know it, they're playing at the drive-in that I go see my movies at, which, as all viewers of Top 5 know, that's what I pretty much did when I was during the weekends, is go to the drive-in, watch a bunch of movies. I saw them all there, became a fan ever since then. I'm not the biggest super fan of all the guys here in the panel, as we know, going through this whole entire month, but I do have some certain takes outside of the super fandom that I know a lot of people have been saying, like, glad somebody says something like this instead of just, has a different take on some of these games and the franchise that is Star Wars.
Yeah. All right. And I forgot I was going to ask you guys to combine the 2 questions, but just quickly, what is everyone's favorite era? So mine is like post Return of the Jedi with the founding of the New Republic. What's everyone's favorite era of Star Wars?
Old Republic, by far.
I'd probably go between Old Republic to even. I like a lot of what takes place for in the era of leading into the Clone Wars, the Clone War era, and stuff like that. Pre Filoni's mess. But certainly everything that was kind of established, and then just even like it is. Anakin.
Clone Wars
every-
pre the 2008 Clone Wars show.
Yeah, the multimedia project that went on for all that, but like it is, I just always find that era just kind of very interesting for what was going on, Palpatine's machinations going on behind the scenes and everything, especially after going through the Darth Plagueis book. It's like,
I was just gonna mention
I
that.
get it now. But then I it's kind of a tough thing because it is just like this whole string of it, because I do also love how, you know, you get to see Luke take over the Jedi and actually evolve them to a new level and basically learn lessons from the previous generation. And where I love it like at the end of the Revenge of the Sith book, where Yoda realizes how they failed in not evolving themselves, how the Sith evolved, but they didn't. They kept preparing for the old version of the Sith. And so Luke kind of took everything that he learned and kept learning, but eventually put something great together. And it's like this whole big span of it that is just certainly fantastic. That I enjoy the whole section of it.
All right. And Jason, Carl, what about you guys? You have a favorite era?
I'll go first then. I really do love the Clone War era most of all. Even the stuff Fracture doesn't like, I really did enjoy a lot of it. And
To each their own.
And I did like a lot of the video games and all the battles and all that stuff that took place mostly in the Clone War eras too. They were just really flushed out for me as a child. So I was basically just inundated with them a lot, from just video games to books to just movies, TV shows. So to me, it's just been like a big part of my life for the most part. I would say also post-galactic Empire series, obviously, with like Thrawn series and of course the Yuzong Fong Wars.
Yeah,
I liked a lot of those as well. A couple honorable mentions are all in those eras mostly, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
nice. All right.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it simple. I'm Old Republic, just because I said the original stuff is just, to me, the best. And as we kind of go down my kind of characters list, I kind of have one on here that's kind of an interesting take as a character. I don't know if it's considered one, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it to kind of like figure out to show why the Old Republic to me is still the best.
Cool. Yeah, all good choices. So, all right. So, we have a couple people in chats. So we have Forking Around just copied in saying howdy. What's up, Forking Around? Good to see you as always, buddy. And without fail, Insidious Bliss is here before we even started saying here we go. What's up, Bliss? Good to see you. Always good to see you around. You're freaking everywhere. So awesome. All right. Well, with that, we'll go ahead and get on into our top fives. Does anyone itching to go first?
I always like ripping off the Band-Aid because my takes are always the weird ones. And I love it. As we all know.
All right,
But,
Jason, let's hear it.
9 episodes in, and I always get to like, man, why is he on the panel? Why did he come up with this show? Why did he come up with this show? So yeah, my number 5. Yeah, so my number 5, I'm gonna rip off the Band-Aid right away. It is a Disney Star Wars character.
Oh,
yeah.
Great. Wow, we got
Get
lots
the
of pitchforks on the panel.
Get the pitchforks.
Now, come after me again. I'm ready for it.
It's Rose Tico, isn't it?
hell yeah.
No, mine's you're gonna see it on the suit. No, mine's number 5 is BB-8.
Okay.
When I saw the little droid, it almost was like the same idea when everybody saw Darth Maul for the first time. I mean, they saw double blade lightsabers. They saw this guy with face paint. I saw this little round roly-poly droid that even in some of the commercials that you saw before the movie came out, almost had like a more personality than another famous droid that could possibly be on my list. But yeah, I mean, I was one of the people that had the BB-8 that rolled around. Unfortunately, he broke. But I mean, just the concept of a
remote control.
the one that would just follow. Just the concept of a gigantic metal ball with, that would just follow you around and do the droid. I just love the design. And I just loved how it was almost in a way of I don't know, droids are always weird. They're like almost like the BB-8 was like a pet, not like more of a service droid. And it was just kind of really cool to see a personality again into another droid that didn't think we were going to get. I didn't see Nerdy Neo laughing around at that one.
I'm
so.
laughing at Duke.
Oh yeah.
I saw that.
Duke from the chat. Disney stars and everything stars are meant to be. Get out of here, Duke, you freaking troll. Sorry to
Who let him in
interrupt,
here?
Yeah, right. And added princesses, I
but
guess.
What's up, Duke? Good to see you, buddy.
But yeah, I mean, other than that, like I said, to me, like when I saw BB-8, I was like, oh man, this thing just looks adorable, and I can't believe I said that about a droid. And that was it. And then watching the movies, I mean, it did everything that I expected a droid to do, but it just, like I said, it had a little bit more character than I expected it to be, and I just kind of I just like the little guy.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say there's nothing inoffensive about BB-8. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then also Bill Hader was the voice of BB-8. Now I always thought that was pretty cool
I
too.
did not
so.
know that. I would have
I
figured
didn't know that either.
I would have figured it was Dave Filoni since he likes doing droid voices.
Yeah.
Maybe that's
This
just
just seems to
Chopper.
be Chopper. Yeah.
All right. Anyone want? Anyone else who wants to go next?
I guess we can just continue with Clockrise or something like that. I'll go.
All right, that works.
I want to say that Star Wars, it's not always about the heroes; it's about the villains too. And there's been a lot of iconic villains, of course, throughout the whole run, expanded canon, quote unquote, video games, etc., etc. But one of them that is from the prequel trilogy that I've loved to this very day, who was done dirty in the movies, but was done great in the TV shows, books, and everything else. Obviously, we got to go with my boy General Grievous.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I thought you were about to say Maul, actually. But
That's
okay.
where he was going as well.
Yeah.
I
Good choice.
honestly can just remember like just the hype that went around General Grievous from back in the day.
Oh, yeah. I remember.
Obviously, he has probably one of the coolest designs, probably out of all the Star Wars villains. Very interesting how he can like move and does everything. The forearms, the 4 lightsabers. It's just such a imposing and like very, intimidating design. And then like you go into his backstory more, depending on which one you want to go with. He was a warrior that was basically mutilated and then got a second chance to hunt Jedi. His first
wasn't he-
appearance.
He's like a Kalish warrior or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And who can forget his first appearance in the 2003 cartoon?
Oh yeah,
he
part
just,
of
like-
Valsky's Clone Wars. He just
Oh,
savages the Jedi.
just like goes on and just like savages all these Jedi. He's picking them up with his feet and throwing them all around and everything. It's just like there's
Honestly-
nothing more intimidating about just watching him just like destroy all these like Jedi masters. Because there were like Jedi masters.
Yeah, some of them were Jedi masters. Yeah,
Yeah, there's a whole group of them. They're all terrified of him.
Well, that's
Yeah.
he was basically like a slasher villain for like his intro. It's like holy crap.
Yeah.
It is.
And the first time you see him,
and then Filoni has him get beat by Gungans.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I couldn't help it.
And Ahsoka survives an encounter with him in like the first few episodes of Clone Wars.
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
The sad part about the Clone Wars series is they were very inconsistent with him too.
Yeah,
It's like there was some episodes where he was just like this
he'd be a beast, and then
megalomaniac,
he'd be- yeah.
psychotic killer, and then in some episodes he was just basically like villain of the week. I'll get you next time.
Yeah,
Jedi.
the Snidely Whiplash mustache twirler. Yeah.
I wouldn't have
Yeah.
got away with
Which
it
I can
because
appreciate a
of
villain
the
as
meddling
cheesy as
Jedi.
that,
I appreciate the cheese on that part though. Like I agree with that one too. But like I appreciate the cheese when he had those moments too, because he had the moment of being like super over, like not overpowered, but super like, oh my god, I'm scared of this guy. But then he also had that little, all right, he's just the cheese has to be there too, just because again he is a Star Wars villain of course. But yeah, I agree, 100%.
Like I said, I like that he has like a wide range of emotions and like he can appeal to you. If you like the 2003 version of him, which I certainly do,
Yeah.
then you can really just appreciate just like the brutality that he got away with a lot of stuff too.
Well, and I like that version, and then the his in the Revenge of the Sith novelization keeps up that brutality portrayal very closely, and like how he even gets so annoyed at one of the Neimoidian pilots, he just squishes their head right then and there after he just like because of Kenobi and Skywalker getting through the damn ship, getting to Palpatine and everything, and he just ends up just crushing one of their domes and flicks the brain matter off. Is like, all right, next guy, get in the seat. You're taking over.
Right.
Which is almost kind of like that kind of Vader duality that you'll end up seeing through Anakin, basically. That's kind of what these villains represented in a way.
I also liked a lot about him too was that he wasn't a Sith or a Jedi,
Right.
and he was still using, Jedi weapons that he collected from dead Jedi too. Which
Yes.
is more cool.
Yeah, and because I don't think I had seen the Tartakovsky Clone Wars until after Revenge of the Sith, I think. And so when the first time when he pulled out the 4 lightsabers in Revenge of the Sith, I thought that was pretty awesome.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
especially just the way that he just like will also use guns and lightsabers, and he's just got like all these little tricks. There's like, you see him just fighting these 2 Jedi, and they're holding him off, and then all of a sudden he just like sneakily detaches his arms, grabs a couple guns, and just blasts them down.
Yeah.
He's tricksy.
He's like very he's the definition of like a hunter, and I really did enjoy that a lot.
Mhm.
So that is my number 5, General Grievous.
Nice. Oh,
Good pick.
cool. All right. Well, Razik, we'll keep the clockwise rotation going. What's your number 5?
My number 5 is a total wild card, and he is Salacious Crumb. No, I'm kidding. That's a joke.
Okay, I was gonna say I'm pretty sure you're joking.
Does everyone here know who Salacious Crumb is?
I would sure
Yes.
hope
I
so.
believe I just
Yes, I do.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, because that's a very very fringe name out there. A lot of for those who are maybe watching but aren't in on the panel. Yeah, Salacious Crumb is that little what Jordan or
Yeah.
Neil, what's
Koikian
his-
monkey lizard.
Yeah, the Koikian
Cool,
monkey.
there we go. I was like, what's his species? I can't. Couldn't
I
remember
talked
the
about
species.
that on last top 5 because we were talking about Dasan and
Yeah.
how Kyle called him
Kyle
an
insults him by
overgrown,
calling him that.
Yeah.
an overgrown
Yeah.
Quaking monkey lizard. And I looked it up because of that. I'm like, oh, that's what Salacious Crumb is.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. So Salacious Crumb was Jabba's pet annoyance thing, whatever.
Something.
Whatever the hell you call him. Anyways,
Does Crumb have a middle name? Because everywhere it says Salacious B Crumb. So I wonder if
What does the B stand for?
yeah, what does the B stand
I
for?
do not know that. That's a good question.
yeah, no one knows.
The ultimate mystery.
Everyone he's ever told what his B stands for, he had to kill to keep it.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly. No, my actual number 5. And I actually had to think about this list for a while because it's like, okay, I know my top 2, probably even my top 3, but 4 and 5 is like, oh man, how do I rank them?
Same for me. It's like I knew my top 3 instantly, and the 4 and 5, like I gotta figure it out.
Yeah. So for me, I would have to say my number 5 is Palpatine.
Okay.
And the reason, and one of the big principal reasons is because he is probably the most memeable character in all of Star Wars. By far. It's not even
Not a bad reason.
Yeah, he's the Senate. He has unlimited power. He told Anakin to do it.
I think you have all of those as text tones on your phone, right?
I do. Yeah, I do. Like that yeah. Just the absolute camp Ian McDiarmid did for that character is just awesome. Salacious badass Crumb. Okay, so that's what B stands for. That's what Salacious B Crumb stands for. Got it. But yeah, Palpatine, and I mean, aside from that, he's just a great character. I mean, he's really the one that's actually in control of all of the events of Star Wars from episode 1 through episode 6. He really is. He's really in control of it the whole way. And really the only reason why he loses in the end in Return of the Jedi is because he gets, Luke called it out, your overconfidence is your weakness.
Yep.
That's really the only reason why he lost, because he didn't see Vader's betrayal coming. If he saw it coming, he probably would have killed
tried
both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was also, but I think it's kind of, his overconfidence, his arrogance, believing that just like he turned the chosen one, Anakin, he believed he could also turn Luke. And that was like his ultimate goal, because he was not fully killing him. He was just electrocuting the shit out of him just to bring out that anger in any way, shape, or form. And he believed he could until, this Anakin seeing his son getting fried like that was just like that switch. And he finally just took Palpatine out. So,
yeah. The other cool, and Dark Empire Sidious is also really cool too, because on the one hand,
I know Filter's feelings about Dark Empire.
Yeah, I mean,
mixed feelings. A lot of mixed feelings.
Here's why I think it's cool. It's cool because it came out at a time before the Chosen One prophecy was a thing. True. So I kind of give that one bit. I kind of give the existence of Dark Empire Sidious more of a pass than I do Disney's lazy.
Somehow he returned.
The story is a lot better put together too, because I also like the aspect of what I do like about it is Luke going down that path, because what I originally thought was, somehow Sidious turns him. No. Once I actually read the series, I was like, okay, it's Luke trying to more understand how Anakin Skywalker
try to find a way to beat him.
Well, beat him, but how Anakin Skywalker, the Jedi of Jedi, could fall to the dark side in such a way by this man, and how could that have happened to him? So he was trying to understand that path and walked it a bit, and he himself then got a little overconfident because he thought he could play the puppet master on Palpatine, but in turn he was unfortunately falling. But I think that's also kind of the nice then conclusion to it all, of then Leia being there to help pull him back from the dark side, and then they both take Palpatine out. I still think it's bullshit that Palpatine somehow returned, but it was presented, I'd say, much better in that series than what was given to people.
Yeah, agreed. The part of it that I like is it gave Luke a chance to actually fight him. Yes, because obviously that moment didn't happen in Return of the Jedi for good reason, but it was cool seeing an opportunity for Luke to do that later on in Dark Empire.
Yeah.
And lose the first time, and then finally beat him the second time when he's amped by Leia. And it gives us a piece of, okay, that's how powerful, this return to Sidious is. He's just like absurdly, insanely powerful. And Luke was finally able to beat him. That gives us a glimpse of just how powerful Luke is going to become later on in the novels. That was a really cool moment.
It is for him. It's kind of like humbling, for keeping him humble too, because he realizes how much he has to still keep learning. He has to still keep perfecting his own craft, because otherwise, he could fall like his father did.
One of my favorite things about Palpatine is that he basically killed trillions of people and could not lose. That was my favorite part about him. Either way, I win.
One of the cool things,
channeling his inner James.
Yeah. Well, one of the cool things I like, one of the things that's really fun about Palpatine in the movies is he is just unapologetically evil. Yes. Most of these villains these days that come out, there's always this stupid moral gray that's written into every damn villain nowadays. It's
they have to be sympathetic in some way.
Yeah,
there's
sympathetic
a tragic backstory. We need to make you sympathize.
They're misunderstood.
Yes,
exactly. Like
why can't we just have bad guys be bad guys?
Yeah, right? Yeah, and that's the thing about Sidious is so morally just at the absolute bottom and loving every minute of it. Yeah,
he relishes it.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, I am the most evil POS you will ever see in your life, and I'm going to savor every second of it. That is so entertaining to watch.
You especially see it in Return of the Jedi as he's sitting there in the chair, making Luke watch the battle through the windows, and he's just egging him on more. But you can tell he's just having so much fun doing it.
Strike me down. I am defenseless.
Strike me down. I don't have a weapon. You could completely kill me now.
Yeah.
You can admire the balls on him for that.
Yeah. And I will say this too, even though the Filoni arc is not really one of the favorite things of Fractured, it was pretty cool to see him just fly down and just treat Darth Maul like the peon he was.
No, that I won't lie, that was a pretty entertaining thing to see Maul get slapped around like that by
Maul and Savage.
Yeah, he basically, I mean, that was kind of that extra show of force from him But I'll still say like one of my real favorite moments for Palpatine is from the Darth Plagueis book. I don't know if any of you guys have read it, but
I've read it. Yeah.
Okay, good.
I
Okay.
haven't.
Oh, yeah.
I still haven't gotten around to reading it, but I know the gist of it.
Yeah, and I mean it basically the book starts where this scene is, but I just love how he lures Plagueis into this whole thing because it's when he won the chancellorship, and they're going over his speech and
His ascension.
Ascension, yeah, and he kept pushing the knight on. No, we could let's both work this speech out perfectly together. Keeps plying Plagueis with more and more ale and everything, and they keep getting the knight going on, and then finally it turns and he just starts zapping the Jesus out of Plagueis. And I wish I didn't think to have that speech up because I didn't know who was going to bring up Palpatine because he's not on my list, sadly. But just how he is just ripping into Plagueis and telling him it was all his plans, everything that happened was his machinations, and I would love nothing more than to have Ian McDermott just voice that section of the book because I just love to hear him in an audiobook, just to hear him deliver that whole speech. He's just basically belittling Plagueis and showing him how much better he was and how he played him completely through the whole thing. And then just has the coup de grace and finishes off and just embraces that, the dark side has spoken and he is now the new master. I love that bit so much. It's freaking phenomenal.
Nice. While we're talking about, it was a few minutes ago, but we're talking about Dark Empire. Did Luke actually fall to the dark side, or was he just pretending in order to get closer to Palpatine?
Wait, say that again?
Sorry, what was the question?
In Dark Empire, did Luke actually fall to the dark side, or was he just pretending in order to get closer to Palpatine?
It started out he was just pretending at first. He was trying to essentially be a mole and try to figure out a way to defeat him from the inside. But
he was feeding details to the Rebel Alliance and stuff like that as he could.
He was trying to undermine Palpatine as much as he could.
Okay.
But and this was after he lost the first fight because he realized, oh shoot, I can't beat him. He's too powerful.
Not directly,
Yeah. I can't beat him. I can't beat him directly in a fight. At least not by himself. But after he was essentially trying to play double agent for a long time, he eventually started to actually fall to the dark side for real as he spent more and more time around Palpatine.
That was his big lesson from the whole thing, was just the lure of the dark side and what that really entails, because he didn't he had an idea, but he never truly knew until this whole event, which was really like I said, that's why I kind of a love-hate thing with with that storyline. But I look at the much more greater positive from it, because it does help Luke push forward with everything else that goes on.
All right. Another good picks. All right. Filter, I think that brings it to you for your number 5.
All right. Rosh Pennon. Who's with me?
Salacious Crumb and Rosh Pennon. We've got this going so far.
The Star Wars buddy cop we never knew we wanted.
I had to go for it. No. No, actually.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead. Well, I was going to say, speaking of buddy cop, did you guys see, I'm not trying to take it into too much of a tangent, but did you guys see that? I think Neo knows where I'm going with this. George Lucas originally wanted Darth Maul and Darth Talon to be in a buddy cop type video game. This was actually the original concept of The Force Unleashed before they scrapped it and turned it into The Force Unleashed. Right. Did you guys know about that?
No.
I think I had heard, and there's also part of his sequel treatments too, was potentially using Talon or Maul, but then people had to kind of remind George, oh no, Maul's dead and Talon is a much ahead of the future.
Way later in the timeline.
Yeah, way later in the timeline. So
it kind of as great as George Lucas was for Game of Star Wars, there were definitely some elements of the greater lore that he just wasn't aware of, really.
And that's why they had like the story groups and stuff like that to be like, oh no, here's what's been planned, here's what's been done. And I mean, that's to his credit, like he's referenced the EU throughout so much of the prequels, especially. So,
yeah. So, and before we get to filter, BD Jake is here saying like the dang stream nerds. What's up, Jake? Good to see you as always,
Hello,
buddy.
Hello,
Good evening.
But no, my actual choice is the little roguish one, Atten Rand from Knights of the Old Republic 2. He's good. Yeah, if you want to talk about certainly a wild card character, he was definitely it. He was first you just kind of almost think of him as a the stand-in for Karth a little bit, but he ends up proving himself to be a much different character than that. Especially then once you start like kind of learning more of his history and everything. And what I especially find so fascinating about him is just like you of course learned that he did take part in the Jedi Civil War that happened after the Mandalorian Wars, and what was just really cool is that he is just a regular, like I guess maybe like a smuggler scoundrel type character, but he explains it in this kind of weird methodical way of how he used to go about hunting Jedi, and the way he would lure them into his traps, the way he would switch his mind to just playing Pazak, because it would either for one calm himself, but also just get him into kind of a neutral headspace to which the Jedi could not sense his feelings, his malice, or anything like that. It just kept his brain just concentrated on those numbers, on the way the card game would play out and everything. And then the Jedi would not know it's coming until it happens. And then he captured so many different. He helped capture Jedi. He helped. I think even turn a lot of the Jedi to the Sith and everything. And so just that kind of is just kind of an interesting aspect, because it does give you that idea that the Jedi are not infallible. They are not like these superhero tier characters that they've certainly been portrayed more recently in the likes of Disney, Star Wars, and stuff like that. But they are just as fallible as anyone else. They can be defeated, but you have to be smart about it. Even a certain droid would tell us the same thing. Good old HK.
Yes.
But no, I like he had an interesting backstory, and I thought he made it for a great companion for KOTOR 2. And I liked his sniping between himself and Kreia a lot of the times, because they really had a animus towards each other, which was humorous at the same time.
Yeah, he was kind of like Han Solo, but unlike Han Solo, he actually believed in the Force, because he hunted Jedi. He knows what they're capable of, and he's actually capable of killing them too. So kind of a scary character if you think about it. It's like, whoa, Han Solo that can actually kill Jedi. Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah, the Jedi breaking part of him too was one of the cooler things, because it plays a big part in making him a Jedi in the game too as well.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. You were saying telling us last time that you could make your entire party Jedi in KOTOR 2.
Yeah.
Not the entire. You can't make Hanhar the Wookiee.
Right.
You can't make him, and you can't make Mandalore. Also,
most of them.
Okay. Yeah, most of them you can. Almost everyone make a Jedi though.
Yeah.
Or
like definitely though. Like I still remember him talking about how when he finally left, really stands out to me too. When he was trying to break a female Jedi, and he said that she kind of broke him in return, and that's why he gave up the life that he was doing.
Looking forward to hearing those stories again, because I'm doing a playthrough of KOTOR 2, so I'll be looking forward to hearing a lot of that commentary from him again.
Yeah. And like you were saying too, his snipe comments too, it's just like he felt like the everyman. He's like, I don't want to be here, guys. Can we just leave?
Can we just get the hell out of here? Do we have
Why you guys always try to get us killed? I just want to go home.
I don't want to be messing with Sith and Jedi. Can we please? No.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I did not expect that one.
Yeah, like I said, I haven't played KOTOR 2 yet, so I don't even know who that character is. But I will learn who they are when I get around to it.
Yeah,
you still haven't played KOTOR 2?
Not yet.
Wow.
I was gonna say
Wow.
I won't.
That is a shame.
Give a bigger tidbit on that and for what happens towards the end of the
Yeah.
game too.
I was gonna say,
I
as someone else that played Knights of the Republic, I looked them up, and when you described Raza, because you explained like on as a Jedi or possibly could be a Jedi, I'm like, that's his picture. I'm like, that's exactly what I got out of just the image alone. So yeah, I can definitely see that.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. He's basically Han Solo, capable of killing Jedi.
Yeah, that's. I looked at the picture. I'm like, that's exactly what it looked like to me.
Mhm.
I'll eventually be playing it. I'm gonna do a playthrough of KOTOR 1 again first, because I played it once and it was like when it was new, so I haven't played it in a very long time. So I'll do. I don't know when I'm going to, but I will be doing a KOTOR 1 playthrough, and then I'm going to follow that up immediately with a KOTOR 2 playthrough. So, but we got another good friend here, Paul. What is up, Paul? Good evening, buddy. Good to see you as always. But Duke saying Jedi are not infallible sounds like Harvey's PA is going to tell us in act. Oh. He that's like the 4th or 5th time he's already mentioned Acolyte. I think he's really excited about Acolyte.
Oh, he's jumping up and down on the couch. He's giddy as hell. He can't wait.
So, all right. Well, for my number 5 is this guy right here. I've got the shirt. I've got the hat. I've got the Slave One. I actually have a figure just like this.
No,
Fett.
Neo, no. It's Boba Fett's ship.
Oh, the Slave One.
No.
Boba Fett's ship. One. No, it's
but
Boba
slavery
Fett's
is
starship.
Racist somehow. Calling it Slave One is somehow racist per Disney's Kathleen Kennedy's logic. So we got to
Jango Fett's ship.
we got to name it the Fire Spray.
The Fire Spray.
Yes, that's right. The
Fire. That is the class.
The class of
ship
is now
spray.
the name of the ship, and no one else can call it that.
Sorry, I couldn't resist.
But yeah, I do have a figure just like Malgus here of Boba Fett, and he would be right there, but I don't know where he is. He's with a bunch of my other stuff that, like my Halo 3 Legendary helmet, my Gen 1 Megazords, and my Boba Fett figure. I'm sure they're all together. I just don't know where they are. If I ever find him, he's going up here in my background as well. But, I mean, he has like 3 lines in the entire original trilogy. And like a few minutes of screen time, but in that few minutes of screen time, he became like a cult classics. Yeah, sparked a fandom. He's just so badass.
He went for sure.
Yeah, he's got the coolest armor. I mean, at the time, obviously, the Mandalorians weren't really a thing until they got fleshed out later. But because of how popular he became, I think that's why all the lore and stuff got written out in in the EU about Mandalorians and Jango Fett and stuff. I mean, he's just a freaking cool character, and he was my online name for basically 10 years before I started my YouTube channel. So yeah, a lot of people think before I started my channel and I was Boba Fett, people are like, oh, is that your favorite Star Wars character? I'm like, he's one of them, but I never actually placed where he was in my lineup until preparation for this stream. But yeah, I do like him. He's cool. He's way better in the EU when he comes back from surviving the Sarlacc.
I was gonna say, I'll say like I was definitely not a big fan of Boba Fett. I didn't understand the hype. I was like, why? He gets clowned in the 3rd freaking movie and falls into the damn Sarlacc pit. What's the big deal? And then when I was finally getting into a lot more of the EU and I went through the Bounty Hunter Wars, I'm like, oh, okay, there we go.
Yeah.
And then
he damn near killed Kyle Katarn, one of your favorite characters.
Don't spoil it.
I know. Oh, hey, he started earning his cred to me when I kind of jumped ahead in some of the books and was going through the whole Darth Kaitis books when Jason Solo goes to the dark side and everything, and like it does deal with kind of even Boba's past, which had been going on through some previous books, but like they did a good job catching even new readers up to it, I felt. And like it was kind of showing him like they were adapting more that Mandalorian culture to him that we've known thanks to the like Republic Commando and stuff like that, where they fleshed out the whole culture. And then like it was then learning about his own accolades, his ability to take out Jedi and stuff like that. how he knew how to fight, I did gain a little more of an appreciation for the character, because I just thought he was just kind of a goof, and I'm like, I don't get it. But the EU was definitely where it's like, oh, okay, I get more of it now. All right.
And he shows up in a bunch of video games around, like Shadows of the Empire and Jedi Academy, and the Battlefront games. So he's always a fun character to play and fight. So
Jedi Academy was one where Kyle Katarn debriefs Jaden at the end of the mission, where you encounter him. It's like, so you ran into Boba Fett, not someone you want to. I barely made it out alive myself when I fought him back on Coruscant. So it's like, oh, okay,
Yeah, I remember that.
They're making Boba badass, which is really cool.
Yeah,
and then he even ends up wearing like a Wookiee pelt and stuff like that. And I was like, oh shit.
So yeah, just a freaking cool character, despite not having a lot of screen time or lines. Kind of like Darth Maul in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But
so, do you prefer the original voice, or do you take Tamura Morrison for voicing him?
I like both. I would say, which one do I like better?
That's a tough one too. I'm trying to think on that as myself.
I like the Tamura Morrison for the consistency, because he's been Boba Fett a lot more than the original guy.
Weird? Like it's gonna be like weird because like I don't mind the change of voice, mainly because it's like as a Metal Gear Solid fan, I endured that with Metal Gear Solid 4, where you had two different voice actors for Big Boss and Solid Snake, even though
Keith Sutherland, right?
No, that God, I forgot who voiced Big Boss in Metal Gear Solid 4.
It's Kiefer.
No, not Metal Gear. Kiefer came along in Metal Gear Solid 5.
Oh, that's something. Okay, that's something.
Yeah,
yes,
Metal
Gear
Solid 4 was somebody else, and I forget who, because I think he voiced Solidus originally. But no, like I don't mind like that idea of having two different voices, at least kind of distinguishing a previous character with the character that's kind of taken over in that sense. So. Like that's why I was just kind of curious, like if you preferred one for the other, but I get where you're coming from with like the consistency and stuff like that.
Yeah, I do like the original guy's voice too. But that was one of the other things that goes along with it is when I got that Boba Fett figure, I also got I didn't meet him, but I do also have a Jeremy Bulloch signed like Star Wars trading card to go with it.
Nice.
So if I can ever freaking find it, it's going up on my background. So. All right. Well, that does it for our number 5. So we'll get on into our number 4s. I guess let's do reverse. So I'll start with this one. We'll go back around the other way. So my number 4 is a Jedi who I always really connected with, because I felt like in the prequels, he does what he feels is right, regardless of what the Council says, and that is Qui-Gon Jinn.
Good point.
I just
There's
really
always a bigger
connected with
fish.
him a lot.
Oh, I thought you were about to say Anakin, but same thing.
I did for a second there too.
That would also fit that.
He fits that description.
But yeah, no, I just love Qui-Gon a lot. And I always really connected with him because, if I was in the Star Wars universe and I had the opportunity to become a Jedi, I feel like I would be basically in his shoes. I would do what I feel is right, regardless of what the Council says. So I was really connected with him. And it sucks that, he got beat by Darth Maul, and then his apprentice, Obi-Wan, beat Darth Maul. I'm wondering if that was always the
Force works in mysterious ways.
If that was always the plan from the original conception, or was it one of those things like Liam Neeson? Because Liam Neeson was the only big name actor in the prequels, right? Like no one really knew who any of the other people were at the time.
Samuel Jackson was pretty big by the time Phantom Menace came.
Okay,
he didn't really have any action scenes yet.
That's true. Yeah, Samuel Jackson
think...
would be the big name person, but he had very minimal roles.
I think this was definitely that next level for Sam Jackson.
So I was just thinking maybe it was one of those things where maybe we can't afford him going forward, so let's kill him off. But But either way, I really like Qui-Gon a lot. And it might have been our top 5 stream a couple weeks ago when someone, maybe it was Carl, was talking about something that goes into more of Qui-Gon's backstory and training Obi-Wan as his Padawan. Does that sound familiar to anyone from last top 5?
Sorry,
not for me.
What about Qui-Gon training Obi-Wan?
In the top 5 a couple weeks ago, someone mentioned something about some story where Qui-Gon was teaching Obi-Wan when Obi-Wan was a Padawan. I don't remember what it was, whether it was a game that we were talking about or someone brought up a book. Does that sound familiar?
I was gonna say, I know I believe there's like the young adult novels and stuff like that handled a lot of the Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan training and stuff like that, but I don't recall if there was a game at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
There is a Obi-Wan game for the original Xbox,
Maybe that was a.
but I do not know anything about it besides.
Yeah, I don't know anything
batteries.
about that either, but I don't think that's what we're talking about. Either way, I'll have to go back and re-listen to the stream and figure it out. But whatever it was, I forgot to write it down because I want to check that out because I do want to know more about Qui-Gon's backstory because I don't really know a whole lot about him, but I just really connected with him and I liked him a lot.
When I'd say go through the Phantom Menace novelization, it does also help flesh out extra things of even the relationship between Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan a little bit, especially for kind of some tension that goes on as Qui-Gon is constantly defying the council as it is, and even just kind of Obi-Wan's own kind of strict thoughts on how kind of more by the rules sort of thing, which I think was which was missing certainly from the movies for sure, but it could have been good. But Qui-Gon's a great one because he's also kind of like another precursor character to showing what would eventually become the future Jedi. As it was, he was much more embracing the living force. He believed in always being kind of a presence out there in the galaxy, interacting with other people besides just being the kind of stuck in their palace monk sort of thing. He was always Obi-Wan's. Why do I get the feeling you've picked up another pathetic life form? But that was just kind of.
Obi-Wan was such a douche in episode. I love.
He was such a sarcastic. But no, it was really kind of just that extra testament to Qui-Gon's character, just how he was much more of that active Jedi. He believed of being out there and it's kind of like a spreading of goodwill almost. And this is kind of like, oh, this is, another side of what, and then it just makes you wonder even more and more, what if it was Qui-Gon that taught Anakin over Obi-Wan instead of Obi-Wan? So he definitely just like presents a lot of interesting ideas and just like, in what I think was what the Jedi were probably potentially supposed to have gone into, but sadly it took them being wiped out. But yeah.
So I watched Phantom Menace last night with the Melee games and everything like that. Nice. And there was a couple of things that they were talking about that it's like kind of goes with Qui-Gon and everything like that too. Is I agree 100%. Like Qui-Gon was so cool in the way of like he didn't want to be stuck. He wanted to be out and about. Wanted to not let the council be the judge of everything. He saw good in a lot of things and wanted to see everything go down. Like he had a bunch of like lines of saying like, make sure don't use what you feel to be your reaction. Don't see it before it happens, kind of thing. And I think that's like his big gain of everything. Like he looked forward to know like, oh, this could be the best path to go through. So I agree. If Qui-Gon did teach Anakin, that would have been a very interesting future that we could have got. Two. The other one that we were all discussing through the whole entire movie is how many people thought that when Padme went with them, with everything like that, that Qui-Gon knew was the queen the whole time or anything like that with some of the things he kept saying about, to her and all that kind of stuff. So it was kind of an interesting kind of take. And then
thought about that.
Yeah. And then the third one too was like, I mean, obviously before he died by Darth Maul. Again, he kept saying like, look to the future, like maybe him like dying. He saw that and that was going to help. Obi-Wan in the future? I mean, I don't know, because again, like, think about when they're like locked in the laser doors and everything like that. You see Maul just staring him down, pacing back and forth, ready to attack. What does Qui-Gon do? He just gets and meditates. Just meditates before the whole thing happens. Like, he's using the Force to see like what happens next, and then, I mean, obviously he dies, but again, that takes out Maul at the time. But yeah, it was a very, very interesting take on what that did. And then obviously I can't watch that either without thinking of Taken, and I want to see a Qui-Gon Taken phone call situation, but that's just
Taken in the Star Wars universe. That would be great.
Qui-Gon has a particular set of skills.
Yes.
Jedi skills.
One thing about Qui-Gon, though, too, is that he's also one of the few Jedi that they point out to be super in touch with the Force.
Yeah.
Kind of one of the things that they point out both in the EU and kind of canonically too, if you stick with whatever timeline you want, is that he's one of the very few Jedi to actually become a Force ghost too.
Yes. Well, he never completed the training, so he never could become corporeal. He was just the voice
until Disney had their way with him.
Until that happened, yes. But he was.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. He was always just kind of meant to be that peripheral voice, but that was kind of the interesting thing too, is like when you watch like Attack of the Clones and stuff like that, and you do hear him shouting, "No, Anakin, no," which is basically just meant to be him, which is probably just a soundbite, I think, from probably a Phantom Menace or something. They just mixed it together, but
I think it is.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that it's intended that he's trying to reach Anakin through that dark moment, but can't because of the dark side just being so strong at that time as he starts slaughtering a tribe of Tuscans.
Mm-hmm.
People of sand.
Yeah, people of sand. Yes.
People of sand. Can't be racist on this channel.
And still one of the best video game adaptations, the Phantom 1 game where you could get Qui-Gon drunk, is still probably the best.
Oh yeah, you mentioned that last stream.
Yeah, I remember that.
But to my point earlier, Duke is saying that he suspects that the plan was always to kill Qui-Gon, because remember, they used to actually write full stories before they started filming. So yeah, that would make sense. And then
different days.
He says, sadly, Qui-Gon died a lightsaber to the gut, which proves that lightsabers hate the patriarchy. Lightsabers the guy don't kill women. Thanks, Disney.
It truly, he is truly the Uncle Ben of Star Wars. He died. He took that gut shot. He stayed dead. no back to patch for him.
So
no.
All right. So since we're gonna go in reverse now, that'll bring us back to Filter.
Okay, yeah. Might be surprising to be this high on the list, but my number 4 is gonna be Luke Skywalker.
All right.
We already kind of talked about him with the whole Dark Empire and stuff like that, but he's definitely a character that I really kind of gravitated to. Certainly wanting that hopefulness that he's exuded and everything, and sadly I became a cynical, bitter individial. But
like Disney Luke then. Okay.
Oh shit.
You became just like him.
No. But no,
die a hero, live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Absolutely. But no, you know, just and especially as I've gotten older, just the dynamics that goes on with within Return of the Jedi, that battle between him and Vader, and just how he is trying to reach the Anakin Skywalker to bring his father back from the dark side with every ounce that he can, every ounce of his willpower. He keeps trying, and until Dad pisses him off and he goes ape shit for a moment. But it's just that dynamic between the two, and then when I started learning about the way he moved on from there into with the EU content, how he was still even constantly learning. He was not just suddenly, after Return of the Jedi, he's the OP Jedi Master of the universe. He's the all-time great. No, he is still learning. You find that out through even the Thrawn trilogy, that through all those trials and tribulations, he's still trying to understand what it means to be a Jedi. And especially with the fact that that's when Ben Kenobi is like, all right, kid, you're on your own, basically. And that's where Obi-Wan Kenobi finally leaves him and stops speaking to him through the Force, and it really is passing the torch to the next generation of Jedi that Luke now is trying to find that way so desperately. And he trips, he falls and stuff like that, but I think that's just kind of the great part, because he is still learning. The whole then encounter with
Sorry, the comment on screen.
God damn it, Duke.
I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to interrupt you, so I wasn't going to say anything. But see you later, Duke. Always good to see you, buddy.
Seriously, that would actually be a crazy YouTube channel. Could you imagine just reviewing STDs like from personal experience and rating them?
Oh my god!
I mean,
Wow.
It's close
Potential
enough.
online
for
right
Star
there.
Trek Discovery, right? So
I mean, who's gonna be the first to ruin their history by like actually seeing if there's a channel already on there for that?
Oh no.
I'll do it for the team. I'll take one.
Thank you,
just
Carl. We
turn on
appreciate
your
you.
VPN before you Google it. That's all.
Yeah.
sorry, I wasn't trying to distract you.
No,
Filter.
you're fine. You're fine. But no, like him establishing the Jedi Academy on Yavin 4, battling the ghost of Exar Kun and all that is some pretty entertaining stuff for sure. But like it is, even then, like the way things go down between him and Jason Solo, and just even how all that transpires, he himself knows he can't go through with certain things of those events and has to pass it on to his niece to kind of do the final battle, because as much as he would love nothing more than to fight Kaitis and take him out, he knows he's just so close to that precipice of going back to the dark side, because he knows his anger would be too great after Mara Jade's death and everything at Kaitis's hands. I think that was just kind of just more of that, he's a man that knows his limitations for sure, and he knows what he needs to do and what he has to step away from. And then especially then after all that, he knows he has to step away from the Jedi to understand why things transpired the way they did. So it is like he is just constantly learning, even to that very point where he's the Grand Master of the Jedi. So he's always just been a fantastic character to me for sure, and definitely like I love that he built his own lightsaber, kind of reminiscent of Kenobi's as well, but his own design on top of it. And I've always liked certainly picking it for like Jedi Academy and stuff like that whenever I got the chance. So
Good stuff.
Cool.
All right, that brings us here. Razik, what's your number 4?
So this one was also difficult for me to pick, but I believe I finally settled down on Darth Nihilus, going for another villain.
Oh, okay.
Because the concept of this like eldritch god, if you will, and he's not even really a Sith Lord. He's barely a Sith at all.
He's barely, he's not even like human.
Because
or
I mean, if he were to successfully consume every living Jedi in the galaxy, he would have then just consumed the entire Sith Order as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I do believe that if left unchecked, he would have grown to a point where he would have even threatened Vitiate.
Don't remind me of that. No, don't remind me of that. God damn.
I kind of don't worry. Vitiate's not on my top 5. I kind of have issues with him as well. I thought it was a little bit of a lazy ripoff of Palpatine already.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly.
It's like, okay, BioWare, you could have used your imagination a little more for the MMO, but whatever. Anyway. But yeah, Nihilus is a really, really cool character. He's kind of this ethereal being where it's like, hey, if you have this one thing that he's weak to, he's fine. No big deal. You can take him out. But if you don't have that, you're dead immediately. You stand 0 chance. There's pretty much no other way to defeat him. I mean, he grew and point to the power where even Kreia feared him greatly by the time he learned how to actually channel his hunger into a weapon. So yeah, he's my number 4 for that reason, and he's just love the design, love the mask they made out of him. Originally, cool little detail. Though I'm glad they went back on this. But when they were originally designing him, the original idea, I believe, was that his mask was going to originally be made from the skull of Revan.
Oh, that would have
Like,
caused some shit.
Yeah, it would have. So I'm glad they didn't do
Just
that
a little
in the
bit.
end. But it's kind of, but that was the idea. Was like, no, we want this guy to be powerful enough to where he could potentially kill Revan. And yeah, so I'm glad they didn't do that in the end. But man,
I mean, that would have been definitely Obsidian
wild.
over. They would have been definitely putting over their villain a little too heavy. But
Yeah.
at the same time, after what Karpyshyn did to Revan in the book, and then Sutor, I don't know. It might have been a better outcome.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, but what's so cool about KOTOR 2 is that's really where all the really good Revan lore comes from. It really doesn't come from KOTOR 1. It comes from KOTOR 2.
Well, no, because it's like they're trying so hard to be vague, and they're trying to keep the mystery box basically until it gets revealed. Thanks to Malik, and then that was, I think, they had a lot of opportunities with KOTOR 2 to kind of give us more backstory on Revan through these other characters that happen to interact with him or know his history.
And they did, which was cool.
Yeah, and that was the thing. Like, even though Obsidian could have put over their own villain with a Revan mask, Revan skull mask, but no, they put Revan over the top because it's like they were talking about how much of a tactical genius Revan was, the way he kept certain strategic points viable, so that you know they weren't completely destroyed through the Republic. The Republic still had these resources, but just maybe in his control.
Yeah.
But it was just more of that added on was really fun to learn from between Goto and Kreia, getting those stories of Revan.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's my number 4, Darth Nihilus.
Sweet.
Yeah, I like Nihilus a lot too because his design is both intimidating and simple at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah,
all right. Carl, what about you? What's your number 4?
Well, I guess we'll keep the KOTOR theme alive and well. My favorite at number 4 is probably one that everyone likes, may not have on their list, but I know is a big fan favorite. HK-47 of the Old Republic series.
Definitely a fan favorite.
Yeah.
What else could you really say about this character other than it's a homicidal robot that is also a smartass?
Yes.
And it just works. And I just love bringing him everywhere I go and listen to him be disappointed or just have like the most like it's the best way he's delivered. It's just like statement, sarcasm, and all that stuff right before he says something. It just gives it away.
I forgot about that. They reused that for the Elcor in Mass Effect.
Exactly. That's where you really get it from.
Yeah, they kind of do. Yeah.
But for some reason, it's just like those little like quips before he says what he wants, like chastising rebuke or something like that, you know? But it just adds so much more, I guess, flavor to his personality, where it's like, you know what he's going to say before he says it, but then you just hear it done in that monotone droid voice that kind of adds a little bit more to it, where it just makes him so much more memorable, you know? It's just how could you just love it?
Well, sometimes kind of emotional. You when he wants to, he puts in that emphasis of just complete and utter disappointment if you are doing anything good or right. You just hear it.
We should just blow him up and save some time.
But I don't know if it was in KOTOR 1 or 2 when you're talking to him, and he just basically he vents his annoyance. He's like, if I see one more time anybody frontally going up to a Jedi to challenge them, I will shoot them myself. Because he's also somebody that talks about the way to kill a Jedi is not to do the whole basically, you know, shonen style, I'm here to fight you. but no, to lure them into a trap and to distract and do anything other than be obvious to the Jedi. And I just love that. I love that when he just is like so chastising about anybody trying to do something so stupid, which I get. I'm like, yeah, you're absolutely right, HK. Thank you for that. I did not consider it.
Yes, just listening to him talk about how to take down people in your party too, if I recall correctly. And he's just like, how would it take you down, Master? And it's just like this machine coldness, but it's also somehow like it's kind of like a lot of personality, and it just works so well. It's just like that perfect blend of like character where they were like, okay, well, we need to make a robot. Well, what's his like? What about this robot? Well, he's a smartass and he's homicidal. All right. And then we're gonna, but because he's also a robot, he can't convey emotions properly. So we got to make sure that when we're getting his dialogue down, he's got to make a caveat to his emotions before anything happens.
Yeah.
So it was also very unique at the time too, because usually when you hear robots in the game, they're either like C-3PO or just beeps and boops.
Right. Or your R2 unit basically.
Your Astromech.
Yep.
Yeah, when I do my KOTOR playthrough, I'm going to be going dark side because the first time I played it, 20 some years ago, it was light side. So it'll be interesting to listen to his dialogue when I'm going dark side.
Well, then it's funny when I think he mocks you too if you're doing the repairs and you don't have the full repair skill, and you kind of fry a wire here or there, and he just gets annoyed beyond belief that it has set back his whatever, like, because I think he could take damage and stuff like that because of it, so he just gets annoyed or what have you.
Neo, when you replay KOTOR 1, if you intend to do dark side, I highly recommend doing Korriban as the 4th planet when you're going after the star maps.
Okay.
Because it'll be after Malik reveals to you that, spoiler alert, you're Revan. And then you can
What?
talk
No!
Sith. You can smack talk all the Sith that are on Korriban because you know you're Revan at that point.
Okay.
And it's awesome. It's so much fun.
I'll keep that in mind whenever I eventually get around to it.
Yeah, so save Korriban for last if you're going to do a dark side playthrough.
Okay, will do. But yeah, all right, excellent pick, Meatbag.
Ah, yes, I love that.
Well, I love it too that Revan heard that and he's like, oh, I want you to keep saying that, so he programmed it into his vocabulary.
Say that to everyone.
Yeah, I want you to refer to every human as Meatbag. He's like, I thought that was such a funny this little tidbit about Revan that he just got such a kick out of it. He's like, you know what? We're keeping that one.
It fits his personality. What can I say?
It does. Awesome. Well, excellent choice. That brings us to Jason to wrap up our number 4s.
Yeah, and then speaking of bleeps and bloops, my number 4 is going to be R2D2.
All right.
Yeah, I mean,
very droid centric here. Okay.
Very. I mean, as you can kind of see, the droids were one of my favorite things of Star Wars. I mean, as a kid and as an adult, I mean, like, there's nobody on this panel that wouldn't want a droid. I mean, it could be whatever one is your favorite, to be like even the worst droids. If we had one, I mean, it would still be really cool just to have. Like, the designs were always awesome. The functionalities were always cool. But I mean, it was always just awesome to have. But I put R2 over my number 4 just because, I mean, from first movie on all the way to the end, I mean, he was there. He saved. He was the big hero of the first movie. He had the message in the 4th movie. I mean, he was arguably probably the most, you can't say strongest droid, but like one of the most important and droid of the whole entire franchise. Obviously, again, he had character moments with C-3PO. You're just hearing bleeps and bloops, and they're just talking and all that stuff, and you can hear kind of like what it is. I mean, we can all see like the sarcasm with C-3PO when he didn't, or with R2 when he didn't want to do something. He had the bleep bloopers like, okay, I guess I'm gonna go do this, and I didn't want to do it, but you can hear it in the bleeps and bloops. So I mean, again, a lot of personality and just noises, but you knew exactly what that little guy was thinking the whole entire time.
Yeah, that kind of came from the interactions too, from the human characters, even Anakin, who very much seemed in touch with like the way R2 interacted, and he was very in tune with that. And then you kind of get a little bit with Luke, but not quite there. But it's just kind of it's fun to watch. And man, he loved setting fire to his own droid brethren. What can what can be said? A little psycho.
Yeah, the way that they were able to like basically the audience can convey to the audience his what he's saying, despite it just being beats and bloops through kind of almost like droid emotion, was really great.
Well, it just took the right like the framing of the camera, just the way the droid would move and stuff like that in those right moments that convey, like you say, this conveyed that emotion. You're like, oh, okay, now you can tell when he's annoyed, like, and with the beeps and bloops, it's like it just took that low whistle or something when he's kind of like, oh, god damn it, why are you doing this to me? Sort of reaction. So,
and I will say this. How he plays off with Anakin and Luke too, like you said earlier, they do a really good job with the improvisation. I would say it feels like where he's like, you have no idea what R2's saying, but you get everything on their end, what he's trying to convey, and sometimes it's very funny.
Well, and it's funny too, like not so much in the movie, but definitely in the novelization of Revenge of the Sith, you get kind of this like big brother aspect out of Anakin in relation to R2. Just the way he looks after him is trying to make sure he's with the group, with the party when they're first raiding that General Grievous's ship to get Palpatine. He's like always trying to make sure that he's got R2 right there. He's helping out in some manner, but he's got a protectiveness over the droid. And even though like you have Obi-Wan who's just very
dismissive,
cold, or just like he very much sees the droid as a utility item, not as its own character, its own personality, so to speak. It's not like, I wouldn't say it's necessarily a slight on Obi-Wan necessarily, but it just goes to like how much more comfortable Anakin is with machines versus like somebody like Obi-Wan who, and again in the novelization, he feels much more comfortable with living creatures, something that he feels like he can get more of a response out of than something that he sees as more cold and being a utility like a droid. So I think that's definitely the interesting dynamics that goes on even with like that relationship too.
Well, it's also, I would like to point out too, is Anakin puts a lot of faith into R2-D2 because he is just a star pilot in general, and his astromech droid is R2-D2. Yeah. So he relies on him a lot in battle. So it's like this weird thing, like you said, he has this big attachment to droids, as we see, because he made C-3PO. And because of his fascination with machines and everything, it's a big part of his character. So yeah, it is kind of playing into that, where Anakin treats his clone troopers like they are, individual people, not tools. And it's the same way he treats his clone. I mean, not his clone. R2-D2, even Ahsoka, everything else. It kind of plays more into his character overall as well.
Well, and that's kind of the interesting thing with then Luke once he has R2, and it's like they'll often bring it up in like the Rogue Squadron books of how like they're supposed to do memory wipes periodically on the astromech droids so they don't develop the weird quirks and stuff like that. In particular, that R2 certainly exhibits, but like even Luke explains is like that's actually part of the benefit of not doing so, is that there's more of a kinship between the two. They like through not only Luke's ability through the force of anticipation and stuff like that, but then with the help of R2 in keeping the knowledge stored in the droid, it helps to react to what Luke's doing in the ship and makes it a much better basically co-pilot for helping out in those dogfights that they get into as well.
Oh yeah, good point.
Versus then like doing a whole memory wipe and starting fresh with a brand new droid.
Yeah, they can learn to anticipate each other and not exactly bounce ideas off each other, but just become more of an
extension of himself.
A pair. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So. I mean, let's face it. At the end of A New Hope, we also felt bad when we saw him all burnt up, and
fried. Up. Yeah,
we all had the same reaction with Luke. It's like, no, not R2.
Excellent point. So, All right, that'll bring us into our number threes. Let's jump around. Rosie, why don't you start us off with your number three?
Okay, my number three is someone who's already been mentioned before in the panel. My number three is HK-47, keeping the KOTOR theme going, keeping the droid theme going, for much of the same reasons. HK-47 is in my top 5 because he is my favorite droid in all of Star Wars, period. End of story.
Yeah.
He's sarcastic, murderous, hilarious. And
fun to bring around, even if you're a light side player. He's still fun to have around.
Yeah, he is. And in fact, in KOTOR 2 specifically, with the influence mechanic, where you kind of have to be careful who you got in your party or not.
Yeah.
I mean, you can play it however you like, but generally, I try to be aware of who I have in my party when I know there's certain parts where it's like, oh, someone's going to lose influence here, but I'll gain it with this person if I do a certain action or whatever. So I usually play dark side when I go through the KOTOR games. And on KOTOR 2, it's like, okay, if I can kill this person, I'm going to choose to kill them every single time. So I usually make sure to have HK-47 in my party so he can comment about it and glow about my murder streak or whatever and be like, thank you. You get my joy reactor tingling or whatever he says.
Nice.
Yeah, so and also on top of that, he's very efficient. He's very good at what he does. Revan programmed him to assassinate Jedi, and he's probably the most effective droid at doing it, aside from maybe General Grievous. Even though Grievous isn't really a droid, he's a cyborg. But you get my point.
Semantics.
Mm-hmm. Semantics, yeah.
What I love too is, I didn't think of it, but like him going through the list of masters that had taken over for owning him throughout the years before he comes back around on Tatooine to Revan and everything. Just the string of quote unquote unfortunate events that happen to each master is just like, holy shit, droid, what the hell? Do I even want to pick you up? You sound cursed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But what's hilarious though is it's like he partially recognizes that you're Revan, but he can't say anything about it until that core memory is restored until it's unlocked after Revan understands that he's Revan after Malik says something to him. It's like there was like some sort of code because they're like does anyone know how that memory gets unlocked for him? Like what the criteria was for that to unlock for him on the Ebon Hawk after Malik reveals that
you had to have,
hey, you were Revan?
Yeah, I think you had to have that scene take place. You had to go through those events, and then you also had to have a certain repair level in order to actually do it, because otherwise you wouldn't have potentially the skill to complete some of his circuit stuff. So
I think that was KOTOR 2. I think
KOTOR 2, you needed the parts. You needed to collect all the parts to piece them back together.
Yeah, to get him started. But I'm saying to unlock certain core members, to get him to have certain conversations with you, you also had to have a certain level of repair skill too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
KOTOR 1, he just says, "Oh, my original master was Revan. You built me," but he doesn't say that until after Malik tells you on the Leviathan, "Oh, you are, hey, what's up, Revan?" What I'm trying to figure out is there an in-universe lore explanation for what that criteria was that triggers HK go, "Oh, this core memory just got unlocked for me."
Yeah, why he didn't tell Revan before that he was Revan?
Exactly. Like what was it on the Leviathan that triggered that that thing to unlock in HK? I don't know what that is. I was wondering if anyone else did.
That might
be with my fascination of all the droids in Star Wars, and someone that just now, I've owned Knights of the Republic for the Xbox for so long, but just never have played them. I just bought them on Steam for $2 total for both of them. So now, as soon as I'm done playing these games, the way you guys are talking about HK, that's like characters that I love. Like my list, my list might even change because like everything you guys are saying about HK47 definitely sounds like right up my alley for like favorite characters. So, but yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, he's hella fun in gameplay too. As you know, well, as far as like fun in KOTOR is concerned, as far as gameplay, because that game is kind of dated on the gameplay mechanics, but
still fun.
My favorite thing to do with HK when I had him in party was give him just a really, really heavily upgraded repeater blaster rifle. Something that can just seriously, and give him rapid shot in his skills so he can just go full auto with it. Give him a strong energy shield so that if someone with a lightsaber comes up to him, he can tank a few hits. And then also equip some flamethrowers on him so that he can burn them at close range. You do that, he'll just kill everything, and if that comes up to him, he's pretty broken.
I want to add one memory about HK47, which I don't think any of you will remember. But do you remember when the video game awards used to be on Spike TV?
I do. Yeah. I didn't watch it much, but I do remember that.
I remember 2003. I had to double check what year it was just for clarification wise. Knights of the Old Republic won Best Fantasy Game, and HK47 was the guy to accept the award.
Are we talking like the voice actor or?
Like they had like the HK47 model, and he was accepting the award as HK47. So they had the voice actor and everything.
Oh, that's funny.
Nice,
that's pretty great. Yeah, I don't think I ever
saw
that.
That's probably on YouTube somewhere. I'll have to dig that up.
I'll go look for it while we're looking.
Yeah, that's cool.
All right.
I don't know that at all.
Well, I was gonna jump to Carl next, but I'll give him a chance.
Oh, you can jump to me.
All right, I was gonna say while he's looking up that link, let's go with Jason for your number 3.
So my number 3, again, I always have at least one on my top 5 that is one of those gray area things. So I was trying to find a way to find a character that would be this, but I couldn't. And I didn't want to pick like a regular character that just wore the armor before. But my number 3 are just the basic stormtroopers. I don't think they get a lot of the love that they should get.
I agree.
I mean, the design, they can't hit anything, but that's to hear no less. They can't walk without getting their. Yeah, they can't. They can't walk underneath doors without getting their bunked in the head or anything like that. But like looking at just the armor and what they are, I mean, it's just awesome. Like besides the Mandalorian armor being the coolest and like lightsabers being the best weapons, give or take if you want to go that route. Like I think the stormtroopers have one of the coolest looks in all of Star Wars. And I mean, granted, there's so many different ones, but if you just go back to like episode 4 regular stormtroopers, so much so, I actually have back when I was in high school and playing basketball and everything like that. Like obviously Kobe Bryant was is still one of my favorite basketball players of all time. I had to get the Stormtrooper variant Kobe Bryant shoes because of how A, they looked, and B, they were just Stormtroopers shoes. I mean, they looked awesome. They looked great. And again, like just the design of what they are, I mean, they were fantastic. So, I mean, yes, there's no character in them except for their clones. And then obviously there's different clones on them, but just the design of what they were. And I mean, just seeing like a bunch of like art with, Darth Vader, commanding 6 stormtroopers, to do things. I mean, it's just a really, really cool design in my thought. But again, as character wise, like I said, it is one of those weird ones. I wish there was like at least the one stormtrooper that I'm thinking of that could be chosen to be this, except for like, oh no, that Finn woke up from one, but like that's not really what I'm going for, kind of thing. But yeah, that's my number 3. It's a weird one, but like I said, I don't know. It's one of those cool little things.
Quite a few
cool.
Quite a few EU characters started themselves out in the Empire, and as at one point were stormtroopers. So Kyle Katarn led a legion of stormtroopers for one of his training missions and stuff like that too, and might have been a participant in somebody else's acceptance training, so he's probably donned the armor as well at some point. Hell yeah, we got Luke Skywalker sneaking in on the ship in stormtrooper gear. So, and he was gonna be going to the Imperial Academy at some point if it wasn't for this whole pesky Kenobi situation that whisked them off of Tatooine. So, I mean, yeah, at any point, many popular characters started out in the Empire, funnily enough.
Yeah.
I remember one of the first what's the word I'm looking for? Exposures to the EU that I had was the Young Jedi Knight books. And my friend, some of my friends had basically the whole series, and they let me borrow them, and I was able to read through all of them. And I remember the first time, like, I thought of like stormtroopers as not like, you know, this like Benny Hill music goofballs that were like serious threats was in, I want to say it was Shadow Academy. I think it was the second or third Young Jedi Knight book, and I want to say it was Zek was starting to train with the Night Sisters, and they gave him a suit of stormtrooper armor. And in that store, when he started wearing it, like, you know, they're teaching about the armor, and it was like, oh, this armor is actually pretty awesome. Not like a joke, you know, paper mache armor that it seems to be everywhere else in or in Star Wars. So, yeah, it's in the movies for sure. The stormtrooper armor is a joke, but it really isn't.
Yep.
And yeah, some bad story choices for sure were kind of done. But what I would say too is like what definitely kind of helped add a bit of extra layers with the stormtroopers and stuff like that was the original Battlefront 2 from 2005 when you played through the clone troopers, the 501st Vader's Legion, basically, and you go into the Empire era and you know what battles the particular 501st took place in, and their thoughts, their what was going through their heads for those missions and stuff like that. Is for one, it was the rare occasion we kind of got that glimpse into a group of stormtroopers, so to speak. And I mean, I think there's been a few standouts here and there, but I just don't know of any of them right off the top of my head.
Yeah.
And it just definitely that campaign from Battlefront 2 really kind of was like, oh, okay. And that was also kind of a bit of retconning of going, oh, is the clone still kind of after that era is still lingering around, but it was at least explained that it was through Vader because it was like a legion he trusted most because it was his clone troopers from that time, and he kept them around while so many had been decommissioned by that point. So that is kind of the cool thing to gather from that.
And then I also just have to share these because again I found them really quick, but let me just click this. But yeah,
a little overexposed. I have
it's really
bright light.
Yeah. Anyway,
the silver ones that are almost like that, except the laces are covered too.
Oh yeah. Okay, I know what you're talking about too.
Well, and you know what's funny too is I was just kind of looking it up, but like even during Darth Krayt, he brings back the stormtrooper or keeps the stormtrooper appearance thanks to also the Imperial remnant from Jagged Fell. So that's an imagery that just sticks around because it's just so iconic at this point. You know, there isn't anybody that doesn't know what the stormtroopers look like from Star Wars.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, I was going to go with Carl next, but I think I'm going to jump in and go next to kind of bounce off what Fractured Filter just said, because it kind of segues nicely. So my number 3 is from that era, the Legacy era, and is the, I don't know, great grandson. I don't know how many greats there are in there of Luke Skywalker, but Cade Skywalker.
Yeah, that's like 100 years past, so about two generations maybe.
Probably
great grandfather.
Yeah, but either way, I think Cade Skywalker is a freaking awesome character, and I love. Another thing that's going to play into is similar to him and one of my other picks is how he's kind of like, you know, conflicted on kind of like which side of the line he falls, because you know the Skywalkers, you know, have that dark side pull at them, you know, through pretty much every generation. Anakin obviously had it, and then Luke, like we were saying earlier, during Dark Empire, started to fall to the dark side, but he was able to kind of bring himself back. And like you said earlier, Filter, with the whole battle with Jason, he's like, I can't handle this. You need to handle it. And that continues on down with Cade, and he basically, he takes drugs essentially to block out Luke's Force ghost because he doesn't want to get chastised by him.
Well, it's he's trying to numb himself from the Force, and because the Jedi Temple from when he was a kid was attacked, his father was killed.
Osis, I think it was.
I think so. It's been. I need to give a solid go for Legacy, but I
was never.
I know a lot of the details.
But
sometimes it's kind of tough. But
it's not because I couldn't read it; it's because I couldn't find the issues I needed.
That's the tough part. But no, I think also not only just like him dealing with the dark side, but it's also the legacy of the Skywalkers in general. It's like there's a lot of weight that gets kind of put onto his shoulders, especially like it is with, again, the Jedi being wiped out, and it's called, well, we need somebody to kind of step up and take the mantle, and he's doing everything and anything he can to essentially run away from what could be seen as his responsibilities in this galaxy. And Luke is so desperately always trying to reach him in some way. And there's some really good moments. There are some really fantastic moments in that book, especially like when he Luke kind of takes him on a bit of a Force walk journey through the past and kind of showing Cade exactly like what he's had to deal with, what Anakin had to deal with, and just everything that how one way or another and especially for himself, for Luke, he stepped beyond the dark side, or had to take hold of his destiny and go forward with that. And it's kind of fun too that like even Mara Jade makes kind of that appearance of trying to talk to him, trying to get through to him and stuff like that. There's a lot of that lineage that's trying to get through to him, but be damned, he'll use every chem in the world to try and numb out the Force in some manner or another.
Yeah, and his whole arc with, as you mentioned earlier, Darth Krayt, that whole story is just freaking cool. You can't really see him, but he is right there behind Filter's bottom right corner.
Yeah, right in the middle between myself and Rozic.
This wallpaper I had on my computer as my wallpaper for a long time. I love that picture.
All the legacy, yeah.
But and then you see Darth Talon's right there underneath Rozic, who's freaking hot, and he hooks up with her, and
could have been a buddy cop with Darth Maul.
Yeah, and also part of his crew, Delia. Is it Delia or Delilah? I think it was Delia. Blue is also freaking hot. He's got a cool bro on his team, and he just freaking cool character. And Legacy doesn't get as much exposure as it should.
Perhaps for the better sometimes too, but I'd also say like what another kind of dark period in the Star Wars timeline too, because again, another Jedi purge, and you have the Sith completely in charge. Darth Krayt is a powerhouse in of himself, and there's the other, and it's funny too because then you basically have the Sith versus the Empire to some small degree, because there's some infighting there. Meanwhile, they're
and
just
the
trying
Imperial
to get
Knights are the good guys.
Yeah, the Imperial Knights are the good guys in all this, and turns everything on your head. It's like, wow, okay. But no, it's an interesting storyline, and you are right, it doesn't get quite the attention that it perhaps deserves, but like I said, sometimes for the best, just leave it there.
Yeah,
just
leave
it alone.
So, but yeah, not Darth Krayt. Cade Skywalker is my number 3. So,
cool.
All right, we'll jump over to you now, Carl.
Oh, about time. My number 3 is a character that I've kind of grown to like more and more as I've gotten older, who I didn't really respect as much as when I was younger, but now that I'm an adult, I kind of gotten used to just like the gravity of the character. The exceptional alien, Grand Admiral Thrawn, is my number 3.
Mm.
And
Good choice.
what I like about
Very
him
good choice.
mostly is he's one of the few non-Jedi heroes that I like. So, well, he's not a hero, I should say. He's a villain. But his character design is also very intimidating. That blue and red design, that prim and proper, very sleekness of the character too. And then like you can know that deep down he's also got that like that animal, that heart of a demon in him that comes out every now and then that he has to control. But just to look at him as just like his character design is like he's one of the few aliens in the Empire that has the highest rank that you can achieve, and he's constantly always having to prove himself, but he's also very cold and calculating and straight to the point, and such a big bad in a way that not even like Grievous could compare with. Like Grievous is more of that, he's like a brawler, and this guy is the only other character I could compare him to is like a alien version of Grand Moff Tarkin.
Well, it's like brain. He's the brains. Grievous is the brawn.
Exactly. And that's kind of like one of the things that I liked about Tarkin too, was based on a lot of stuff that they kind of I think took inspiration for when they took into making Thrawn as well.
Well, and to your point on his design is what I also liked for the Chiss in general, but that's what also it's what annoyed me when they introduced him in the Rebels is that they took away that intimidation factor in my eyes, is that they gave him the irises, the pupils and stuff like that, when it was much more of an effective thing when his eyes were just that pure red, to where I mean he could be basically just looking and seeing through your soul. You didn't have to know that he was looking directly at you, but just that he had that look about him that you didn't have it, and like it, even like through artwork and stuff like that, you could see the expressions done very well to convey that. When I just didn't think they needed to give him any extra detail. He was basically just perfect the way he was originally designed.
Exactly.
They gave him an otherworldly aspect to him, because instead of just being a blue human, he that was his kind of that alien feature. Besides his blue skin, was just those peerless red eyes that kind of had a glow to him, and he just would stare at you, just meticulously tearing you apart in any way that he knew on how to destroy you in whatever way possible that he could.
Yeah, that's a good point too, because his original design just made him look like a demon.
Yes,
that's just
that's a good way of putting it.
That's the best way to say it. And it's, when you think of like the Empire, you think of obviously, some of the Imperial mostly comes to your mind, and it's just like the prim, proper British people that you usually think of, as they were probably inspired by. And then of course you think of like the true villains are like the ones that are unique and stand out more and kind of have that like X factor. And Thrawn was like that guy that had that X factor. Not only was he, overcoming like just the bigotry, to put it bluntly, in the Empire against aliens, but he was also proving that he was the best, and he didn't care who got into his way. He was going to prove them wrong no matter what they did. And it's just those eyes and that demeanor where he's like, he looked like a demon that they like tamed.
Yeah. Well, and what was great too is like there's even moments where he chastises certain Imperials for that perspective on him, but he at the end of the day he makes it very clear he doesn't care. He just says basically for you to shut the hell up, do your job, and if you are efficient and you work well under me, you'll go far, you'll go places. That's all I care about. That's another great thing is that he acknowledges certain things, but he does not let it bother him, and he just wants the best troopers he can get to work for him, so they can get the job done. And that's the thing; he's very much for the Empire. He has accepted that role to every degree, and that's why he was the rare exception of a Grand Admiralty, and that he he took over. He knew what the objective was, and he knew a lot of the deep dark secrets that nobody else really did, besides Vader.
And that's another good point too. He defined a meritocracy. That was
Yeah.
like one of the big things too, because a lot of the images of the Empire of like mass production, cheap, rushed out, laziness, corruption. But then here's Thrawn, who's I'm going to do everything, pretty much off of merit, and I'm going to prove to you that I'm the best at that.
Well, it's another great scene. I think it's in the first for the first book, Heir to the Empire, when it's either the first or second book. I think it's Luke gets away from the tractor beam, and he goes up to the person that was in charge of it, and he goes, "What happened here?" He basically just kind of gets answers from the ensign or whatever. He's like, "Okay, who trained you?" And they bring the officer over that trained him, and then he kind of starts talking to him for a moment, and then he has Rook come up and basically cut his throat. And he's like, he basically just makes the point that, learn from this man's mistakes. Don't ever make them. You become the better officer than what that guy was trying to train you to be, or not train you to be, or the way he learn from his failures and go forward, instead of somebody like Vader. And he makes that point too. Is like, I'm not like Vader where I'll just kill you directly. I'll kill the person that was responsible for the poor training, but I want you to be the better individual for it. I'm not doing the scene justice, but it's really well put together for sure.
Like I said, it's just a cold, calculating, meritocracy-driven machine. It's like I said, it's very fitting that it's not an Imperial that possesses his qualities. It's an alien that looks like a demon. I think they really knew what they were doing when they were making Thrawn's character, and they really hit it out of the park with like a design of like the point I think they were trying to come across. Because a lot of things that I kind of been pointing out too is definitely just character design in Star Wars is also sometimes what makes or breaks a character.
Yeah,
just like with Nihilus earlier and everything else. Like Nihilus was very simple and intimidating. Thrawn was like kind of the same way, except it was like just so well done to like you just had to look at him and you're like, you just got that cold, ruthless efficiency vibe from him, and they really hammered that home with the way they wrote him too.
Yeah, great character, definitely, and great. What's the word I'm looking for? Counter, I guess, to the Jedi in his trilogy. I mentioned it when I was on Angry Canadian stream on Saturday. Yeah, we were talking about Thrawn and his use of the. I'm not sure exactly how it's pronounced, but I've always said Ysalamiri. Yeah,
the Ysalamiri.
To counter the Jedi, and the reason why I was bringing that up is because they show up at the end of Mysteries of the Sith, and you can't use your Force powers. And that's why I learned about them.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I remember that now.
So, but yeah, definitely a great character, very well written character, and a lot of people consider that to be some of the best books in all of Star Wars.
Well, and it was definitely what helped prove to Lucasfilm and stuff like that to not only to move forward with the storyline, but to move forward with a consistent storyline, to actually carry forward with the characters in this specific narrative and move on the way they did, to continue the story of Luke, Han, and Leia in the way, and keep a very neat and tidy story. Because then they kind of disregarded, I think, some of the Marvel comic books, and then moved on with the way things were going forward with this series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, all right. Well, Filter, I think that brings us to you to finish off our number 3s.
Okay. So I would say this individual kind of does fit. I'd say he's a mixture of brains and brawn, maybe a little more brawn on the side, but definitely a fascinating and intriguing warrior. Somebody that's got another bunch of great stories that you just can't help but get immersed into. I would say he's pretty much the OG of Mandalorians themselves. You can't top this guy. He's the best there is, the best there ever was, best there ever will be. and that's Canderous freaking Ordo. I love that character. For the longest time, again, kind of like with Boba Fett and everything, I was like, Mandalorians, whatever. But then, Knights of the Old Republic rolls around, and you get this character, this kind of, I guess this is why I just kind of related to him a little bit, this jaded, cynical individual that felt just kind of a little lost in the world because he knew one thing. He knew combat. He knew, war. Nothing thrilled him more than breaking atmosphere on a basilisk war droid. Stomping out and glassing Cathar as he saw fit, kicking him underneath his boot and all. He just like I said, just hearing his stories are just so much.
We got K's vote.
All right, but I mean, it is just, it is just so much fun just listening to his war stories as you're going through Knights of the Old Republic after you've recruited him. You're on the ship and stuff like that, and just hearing the different battles. And it's funny because they even do kind of hint a little bit at Yuuzhan Vong potentially breaking into the galaxy a little bit, or into this sector of the universe and everything. But like it is, yeah, it hit this like even how he has such a reverence towards Revan, towards the Jedi. He saw them and the Republic as like their ultimate measuring stick for just what the Mandalorians could truly be capable of. What it meant for them as warriors to test themselves against another, basically to him and everybody else, another group of warriors. And just also then how devastating it was for them that Revan kicked the shit out of Mandalore himself, yanks the helmet, and goes, "You ain't got a leader, bitches. You are done right here and now." But even despite that heavy loss, Canderous himself still sees them in such a high light, sees Revan in such a high light, and I'd say that it's also just what disappoints me with like the book and stuff like that, because it just feels so lost. But
I didn't appreciate the whole retcon of Vitiate was the one that coaxed the Mandalorians.
Yes,
that like no, they're space Vikings. They don't need a reason like that.
Yeah, I like
manipulation to get them into battle. They're basically, I mean, the OG Mandalorians are basically space Vikings. They raid and pillage anything they can, and the whole point is
great
to
about
die in a blaze of glory or win.
Yes, that's what I thought was so fascinating and fantastic about them, was that they had that they just wanted the test. They wanted it.
Mm-hmm.
They saw the Republic as that big test, and if they could conquer it, fantastic. They would rule the galaxy. If not, well, you know what? They gave it their all, and that's all they could ask for, is that they gave it their best shot to take down the Republic and the Jedi in the way they knew how, through bloody and glorious combat. So I mean, if there was anybody that definitely just raised that bar for the representation of Mandalorians themselves, Canderous is the man for it. Because it's like, you say Mandalorians, he's the guy I think of. And then you put his war story. I have this video saved too from YouTube. If you put his war stories to Vod Ann and everything from the Republic Commando soundtrack, mwah, chef's kiss. Perfect. You can't go wrong with it. So that is my number 3, is Canderous Ordo.
So would you say Canderous is the Mandarus?
Exactly. You got it, man.
Yeah.
He reminds me of like the human version of HK-47, but
a little bit, yeah.
That's why I liked him so much too. Is he was like that grizzled old vet that just didn't care. I think everyone kind of had like one family member, I think, in their life where they can relate to him being like their Canderous figure. It's just like that one uncle who's kind of just like gruff and just doesn't care, just says what he wants, no matter what the outcome is.
Well, that's the fun thing about bringing like him in a party with Karth, who fought in the Republic and everything like that, and then just they're sniping back and forth at each other about the war and how, even though like Karth does his damnedest to try and quit back at him, but Candace just is so unfathomable about it because he's just like, we still gave you guys a run for your freaking money. What are you doing? You may have won, but we still shook you hard, guys. That's just the extra fun of it.
Survival for us, it was a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Tuesday.
But yeah, just like those back and forths are so fun. That's like part of that extra flavor text that goes on. It's like, oh, so good, so good. That's the only reason then to bring Karth along, so then he get chastised by Candace about the war and stuff.
And everyone just like takes a big deuce on Karth.
He deserves it.
He has.
What are you talking about?
Hey,
sometimes.
No one says that.
Well, and then what's great, what's at least then fun is in learning. You know, he is given the Mandalore helmet to carry on in. Oh wait, I spoiled something. Because if you, I don't, yeah, I'll just end it there. Yeah, great character.
All right. Well, that will bring us into our number twos. Let's see here. Who wants to go first?
I can go again.
All right.
Just because again, we were just talking about Mandalorians. This guy's been mentioned already. To my left, the gears on Nerdy Neo right there. My number 2 is Boba Fett.
Ooh, we higher on his list than mine. Damn.
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah. Again, when I was talking about like the stormtroopers, just like the armor and everything like that, I'm like, cool, this is, as good as it's gonna get. And the next, you meet Boba Fett, and then all the Mandalorians are like, okay, why couldn't they make shoes of this? Or that's how I was thinking after that too. But no, anyway, like, but no, just the idea of like what Boba Fett is and everything like that. Yes, I mean, I'm just pretty much gonna say what Neo said. Like, he wasn't on screen very much in any of the movies, but you knew when you did see him, you're like, oh, this guy means something. And you don't know. It's going to be something. Like, he has such a strong presence for such a short period of time. And then, yes, if you don't know anything outside that, you get really disappointed. Like, oh, cool, he just gets fooled and dies. But then you're like, oh, wait, no, this dude escaped a Sarlacc pit. Like that would have been awesome to see. But like, this guy survived something that anybody that's ever happened, like, usually is just gone. But he is so just well versed in like battle and just every like determination. Like, he survived that and went on and did other things. But like, yeah, and then it obviously, again, with learning about the Mandalorians after that and just how cool other things got from them, yeah, Boba Fett is such another really, really good character that added a lot more to the story from the little that we saw him, and then later on in the extended universe as well. So
Expanded universe, but yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Spanish,
I think
whatever. EU.
Yeah, we've already like talked about this. Like, yeah, the great designs and stuff like that. It's just funny how, yeah, you can take this as kind of a character that was a backgrounder and really flesh it out with adding much more layers to him, much more different, aspects of what's gone on. Because I mean, you get another kind of grizzled warrior after a good long time. I mean, even he starts up his own shit of taking on the Republic and stuff like that with his new group of Mandalorians. So when he it's kind of again like, you have another character that is having to kind of accept a mantle, accept a legacy of taking on but for him is the title of Mandalore, which it certainly is not an easy one to hold, considering the lineage that title alone has, and all the greats that have taken on that name. So that is just kind of like it is for Star Wars. A lot of it's legacy, a lot of it's from father to son to grandchildren, as Lucas put it. You know, that's
I loved Boba Fett when he was in Dancing with Wolves. That was, I think, my favorite one.
Wait, what? I haven't seen this version of Boba Fett.
It's the Boba Fett TV show.
Dancing with Tuscans?
Dancing with Tuscans.
Oh, okay. You're talking about the Boba Fett, Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah, nothing better than him tripping out on what was that?
Gosh.
Some frog.
Space peyote.
Yeah, space peyote to find a special magical stick to craft his own Gadurfi.
Yeah.
Oh
So great.
Why
Lord.
did you have to bring Boba Fett down like that?
I think
I stopped listening, so I mean,
Blame Disney. They already did it.
Yeah, Carl didn't have to bring it up.
Well, we gotta talk about Boba Fett. We might as well talk about some other funny stuff.
yeah, we don't talk about the downfall of our favorite heroes, though.
Yeah,
We're about the positivity here, okay?
Exactly.
exactly.
They're always great, and then they don't exist anymore, even if they still
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Mark
Exactly.
Hamill is not Luke Skywalker. That's what I always say to myself.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Nuts. All right. Anything else you want to touch on Boba Fett, Jason?
do. No, I think, like I said, I think when you mentioned him, you gave him justice. So yeah, it was kind of. I'm just sitting there waiting. I'm like, yep, he's on my list. And no, everything that you said and what we talked about him when you mentioned him as your number 5, pretty much gave him all the justice that I need to give him.
All right. Let's give Carl a chance to redeem himself and bring the positivity back up a little bit with his number 2.
My number 2 is one that I believe Kay said that is kind of a cop-out, but it's not a cop-out to me. My number 2 character is Revan.
How is that a cop-out?
She says that it doesn't really count. I think I want to say, I don't want to put words in her mouth, but I believe she said picking him because you can play as a character is kind of a cop-out.
Hey,
I disagree.
hey,
What big
I have
surprise.
some fighting words there.
Kay and I always disagree. So
Yeah.
much of a surprise.
I want to say that's what she said. I might be misremembering here.
Well, you can
Oh.
play as a ton of Star Wars characters. So
What's up, Canadian? Good to see you. I
those
just
can be
mentioned
your
you a few
favorites
minutes ago because of your stream that I was on the other day for your Star Wars gaming stream.
Yeah. Well, I think it's because like Revan could be like a customizable character to a lot of people, or
He's
can
an
kinda-
avatar of the player. I see.
Yeah, that's kind of why. But at the same time, let's go without like KOTOR. Obviously, was my number 1 favorite Star Wars game of all time. I just love the design of Revan a lot too. It's just that very mysterious kind of feeling he had too. I love the design, the cape, the costume, the helmet.
If you wanted
Because
to.
the character is essentially written and designed by you. Okay. That's what she was saying.
That makes sense. I get that. But there's a lot of lore for Revan outside of, KOTOR 1, so.
Yeah, but also like that too. It's just that mysteriousness that goes around with Revan too throughout the whole game. You don't know that you're Revan, but you also see like the actions of Revan, him going around, standing up to the Jedi Council, going to fight a war that they don't want to be involved with. His rise and fall, as you could say, too. And plus, like when you see more of like the expanded lore, like when he's the Jedi Knight Revan, they still have that like design for him, even though later when he falls, he just changes from like a more light inspired look to a evil inspired look. Dual bladed lightsaber user, obviously, that's another one that I
Represent.
like. I'm always a huge fan of people who use 2 lightsabers, and one of them's purple. Purple's my favorite color, as I said before. Purple lightsaber, spoiler alert for number 1, obviously. Little tease right there. But just on top of that too, it's just more so like his story is just, even if you aren't playing as the character of Revan and you go on the outside details and everything from even KOTOR 2, where you can, even if you didn't play the game, you could feed the characters in the game like what you think Revan is, even if you aren't Revan. I just think it's really cool, and the whole like idea of like, it's kind of like the first reverse Anakin story for me as well, because when you think of Anakin, you think of the Jedi Knight who falls and then doesn't really redeem himself and just becomes worse and worse until like the very end. Whereas Revan's story is kind of like the Jedi Knight who falls, gets basically war crimes committed on him, so he forgets all the war crimes he committed, and then he comes back around as his own, savior of the galaxy. And
he gets a second chance.
we don't really need to talk about the other stuff that Drew Karpyshyn did.
What other stuff? I don't know what you're referring to.
Yeah, what is that?
What is it?
See, again, all about positivity. Let's go.
Mhm.
Go.
Cool. All right. Yep. Definitely a good choice. He's an awesome character. So, all right. Filter, you want to go next?
Certainly. My
So
my number
Canadian
2.
can hear your number 2 before he restarts the stream.
My number 2. Let's see. How do I want to go about explaining this character? Certainly took the teachings of another, expanded upon him, much like a certain Jedi Knight, but in another viewpoint. Grew up on a mining planet, and eventually found his path. And who would have thunk it? It would be an unfortunately very dark path, and that is Darth Bane.
I had a feeling that's where you're
The
going with
man, the
Yeah.
creator.
When she said
of-
mining
Yes.
planet, it's like, oh, he's gonna.
Okay. I thought that would be a dead giveaway. But yes, Darth Bane. He was definitely among some of the early books that I started reading for expanded universe content, and oh my god, especially Path of Destruction. Ooh, so good, so good. He goes through himself just kind of an interesting journey of learning the dark side, learning what it means to be a Sith, and just how he, even in his way, he defies what's going on. And I agree with him. The Brotherhood of Darkness were certainly no Sith. They were just basically dark Jedi. They were not worthy of the mantle of Sith.
They deserve to be wiped out.
Exactly. They were no better than the Jedi themselves. But I just love to then it's kind of like this extra confirmation. So everybody likes to try and go, oh, great Jedi. But you even have Darth Revan himself from the holocron that Bane finds on the Rakatan home planet or whatever. I forget what it's Lehan, thank you. Revan saying essentially that, in order to truly gain power from the Force, through the dark side, through the light side, you cannot basically be on that wire between the two. There is no such thing. It's either you embrace fully the dark side or you embrace the light. You can't. There is no in between. And I think that was just and it was just that kind of moment for Bane that realized what he had to do, and just the path that he then needed to take. He learned. And even though he's conveyed as such a big brute of a character, he's the most cunning of them all. And that's where I almost can see where some people are like, oh, maybe Bane survived. Maybe he essence transferenced his way through the galaxy and he's Palpatine now. I don't like that idea, but I understand where people.
Before.
My co-host Jay Hitman, he brought it up. And I'm like, I don't like that idea. It's a stupid idea because it removes Palpatine being his own character and everything like that. I don't like it. So stop it. But I can see how people might get that idea sometimes. But no. Anyway, Bane creates this new pathway for the Sith, which I believe as well is kind of that right working function, even though the dark side is nothing but imbalance to the Force, and they're not meant to be, but they're there. But if you're gonna have them, it does need to be two: the master to embody the power and the apprentice to crave it. And that was Revan. Revan was that catalyst. He was understanding a bits of it, but Bane learned from that, took it, and was like, this is the new pathway. And it's funny because as you go through each books and he has his apprentice Zana, she kind of reflects still that typical Sith. She's very she has the bloodlust. She wants to kill indiscriminately and everything like that. But Bane takes that different approach still. He's methodical with what he wants to do. even though he has those urges to kill anybody that he sees as beneath him, he holds back because he also then looks at them. Are they useful to me? Are they somebody that I can benefit from? I think that, and then that creates this further a very fascinating character in him, because then he's trying to pass this on this new path for he tries to rebirth the Sith in this way, and he does. I mean, without him, we don't have Palpatine and Plagueis and everything. But you know, I just also think he was the most dedicated to the rule of two. He was the one that was like, this is the way we need to go. I wish he was the one that survived at the end, but oh well, it is what it is. But again, just like definitely earns that place for me at number 2. And again, the Path of Destruction book is probably just top tier. The later ones aren't bad, but man, they just don't have that same effect. Because while it's dealing very much with the dark side and evil and stuff like that, it still feels like a Star Wars story, because then you still have it reflected with the Jedi side, who are still the good in the galaxy, trying to ensure that good people aren't dying and everything like that. Meanwhile, you do have Bane destroying a family, all to keep himself from dying from a poison thanks to Githany. So it's like, holy shit. I mean, for the fact that people want to try and erase the past and go, oh no, we haven't ever had dark and mature storylines until now. I present to you Darth Bane. So he my boy earns that spot at number 2.
Nice. All right. I have a feeling. Oh, what was that, Carl?
Great choice.
Yeah. I have a feeling that Fracture and I might have some flip-flopping going on our top 2, but I'll go ahead and go next with my number 2, and that is Fracture's avatar. My man, Kyle Katarn.
A good choice. Very good choice. He earns that spot.
Like I was saying earlier with Cade, how he's got kind of this back and forth with the light and the dark side. Kyle's had that too, and which makes him a great character. He started out, like we were talking about earlier, the Imperial Academy and being Stormtrooper, to eventually becoming a mercenary. And because he was working for the Rebels, he eventually got well, I guess that was not because he was working with the Rebels, but he was working with the Rebels as a mercenary in Dark Forces, and then in Jedi Knight, his dad gets murdered by Jarek, and that leads him on the path to becoming a Jedi. And then in Mysteries of the Sith, he falls to the dark side, and Mara has to come and bring him back. Yeah, and that's why Jedi Outcast, he doesn't start with any force powers or a lightsaber, and he's got to find his way back to the light. And he's just a very well-written character. And as we talked about in the last top 5, Jedi Outcast, Jedi Academy are my favorite Star Wars games of all time. Lightsaber combat still hasn't been matched in any Star Wars game. They are so fun. They I don't even want to say they aged well. They still hold up perfectly well. You could definitely go back and play those to this day and have a blast. And it's been a couple years since I played either of them, but I don't feel like they feel like 20-year-old games. But yeah, he's just, and then eventually becomes a master at Luke's Academy and shows up in New Jedi Order, and just an awesome character. I just love how he's been all over the place, and just a cool character. And I love his games; they're my favorite. He's just awesome. I love Kyle Katarn.
You're our last number 2, right?
Yeah, we're on our number 2s.
All right. Well, I guess I'll just kind of go. Yeah, my number 1 is Kyle. Are we still obviously?
We're gonna mix it up a little bit, but we are still on our number 2s.
I mean, I'll just get it out of the way because it's very freaking obvious.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
I wouldn't.
I know, shocking, right? I almost thought of making him my number 5 just to throw people off, but I'm like, you know what?
Should have.
why skirt the obvious here? But
Should have been like Ryan Johnson and subverted our expectations.
Damn
Yes.
it! I missed such an opportunity here. My
Yeah.
you know what? If Duke's watching, I'm not giving him ammunition.
He is. He just commented.
No, but what is especially great is like because you have two different versions. You have the games, but then there is the book series, which is kind of considered a little more on the canon side, I guess, from my understandings between like games and books and stuff like that. The book canon supersedes. So, but I mean, pretty much the events are pretty spot on, but like the books definitely go a little more into his academy life, and then the Empire itself, because they're kind of doing their own little skirmishes against a fledgling rebellion. They themselves kind of do their own little false flag operation of acting like it's this rebel group that's hitting a village when it's really, it is the Empire taking out a unknown rebel cell, and that's where to Kyle's horror finds out that they've decapitated his father and put his head on a pike. And it's just so funny how they wanted to try and go, oh, Andor's an adult show, very original and very dark and gritty, and like no. Again, the Dark Forces original books definitely had a dark and gritty feeling to it, but again, still remaining very true to the spirit of Star Wars and a hero's journey, essentially going through it. And it's really because they play to keeping and having Kyle further in the Empire, but then it's just eventually, thanks to a pretty face in Jan Ors, that just kind of lures him a bit more away from the Empire. But she's the one that gives him the information that no, in fact, it was the Empire that did this raid on this town, all to do a false flag operation and claiming it's this rebel group that killed a bunch of innocents when in fact it was the Empire doing it. And then he finds his way into being a part of the Rebel Alliance, but he's still very much a wild card for them because they don't trust him. Even Mon Mothma tasks Jan with the whole thing of if he one little bit steps out of line, shows any sign of not being on our side, we need you to kill him. We need you to take him out. So he was pretty much under the barrel by that order and could have been killed at any time, but he proves himself through each operation and does. They are, Jan and Kyle are the ones that steal the original Death Star plans to make it to help the Alliance and help make it so Luke Skywalker gets that kill shot on the big old Death Star. And even then it's like then they go into the whole Dark Forces stuff. And I mean, unlike now where it's like, oh, it was Jyn Erso that it deserves all the credit. No, Jan herself is like, because she meets Luke and Leia and is like, oh my, it basically kind of has that like hero worship moment. It's like, oh my God, you guys have done so much for the rebellion. She doesn't take any credit or anything of the sort, and that's they're very mutual about it instead of just trying to give it to one person or the other. But Kyle, he goes on his great journey of going into the life of a Jedi, and it is pretty cool. He's the master for Mara Jade of all freaking people, but then especially for her being formerly of the Emperor's hand, being trained by somebody like Palpatine even, but he's helping her learn the ways of the Jedi, the ways of the Force. But that's what is very interesting when I got to finally play through Mysteries of the Sith to learn his downfall, how he falls to the dark side. And then, it goes into, like you said, Jedi Outcast, where he's like, I'm done with the Force. Please, I don't want any part of it. He's another character. He's kind of like the proto exile. He's like, I'm done with the Force. I'm cut. He walks away from it entirely until the overgrown Kowakian monkey lizard decides to throw a wrench in his life, and he has to use the Valley of the Jedi to regain that power quickly. But that's then the great aspect too of then like Luke's trying to teach him through the Jedi Outcast storyline of, yes, you've regained the Force, but you need to be careful. You can't just rush into these situations. And he understands Kyle's urgency to get revenge and everything like that, but he's cautioning him. He's trying to kind of slowly but surely like kind of give him that guidance again. And I think that in and of itself just kind of shows an interesting dynamic between him and Luke for starting out, and then he gets his own two apprentices, and that interesting little journey of trying to teach of all people Rosh freaking Pennon, who, you know what, at the end of the day, still not worth going to the dark side over. He's as obnoxious a little snot as he is, but but I wish he got a little more time later on. I felt like he kind of was like one of many faces for characters. There was just so many going on in that era that I felt like he kind of got punked a little bit, especially when he faced down with Kaitis. I'm like, man, Kyle should have punked him hard, but no, he got his butt whooped pretty hard. But hey, you got to put your villain over a little bit, right? So, but yeah, Kyle, my boy.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense for it to kind of jump ahead a little bit, but I don't think anybody was going to be surprised with that number.
Yeah, no, I figured to get it out of the way.
So
I was shocked.
Oh, all right. So I think to finish off our number twos, I think Rozik, you're the only one left.
Yes. Okay. So my number two is someone from. Well, unfortunately, it's a character that's been brought low by Disney recently.
Uh-oh.
As much as I hate to admit it,
That's a wide list.
but we'll just ignore that for the sake of this. Stay positive.
The canon pre-Disney version.
Yes. And my number two on my list is Obi-Wan.
Oh,
And-
good pick.
Very nice.
Jedi Jesus. Have you heard about our Lord and Savior Obi-Wan Kenobi?
No, please tell me about it.
No, I was just gonna say that.
Anyway, he is my number two for multiple reasons. The biggest being his character. A lot of people, he's actually kind of an underdog character to pick because a lot of people think he's kind of underpowered, especially compared to Anakin, Count Dooku, Mace Windu. I mean, we know Yoda and Sidious are at the top, in the original 6 movies, but just right below that you have Mace Windu, Anakin, Count Dooku, and Obi-Wan. Actually, Obi-Wan's right up there with them. A lot of people don't realize that. But it's a long growth progression for him, for the character. You see him start out as this, this impatient, not whiny, but definitely impatient, kind of arrogant, but skilled Jedi Padawan in episode 1. Doesn't really think much of Anakin, doesn't really think much of Jar Jar. And then you see a massive growth progression in character between each movie. So by episode 2, he's much better, but he still kind of doesn't have a great relationship with Anakin. He's kind of trying to balance being his master, but also kind of like an older brother figure to him as well. When Anakin really needed was Qui-Gon. Anakin needed Qui-Gon as that father figure, but he's stuck with Obi-Wan, and he kind of got the father figure the one that he deserved and couldn't really quite get, and it's kind of a tragedy in their relationship if you think about it. But despite all that, Obi-Wan really does become a very good master and mentor to Anakin, and eventually kind of becomes more of like an older brother figure. And then you see that by the time episode 3 rolls around, they actually have a very good relationship with each other. And one of the things that I love about Obi-Wan is that I think a lot of what Qui-Gon said became true in episode 1 when he said, "I see you becoming a very wise and powerful Jedi, greater than me even." And I do think Obi-Wan did achieve that by the end of his life. I think by the time we see him in A New Hope, he has achieved all that Qui-Gon has achieved and more. He can go toe to toe with Vader, arguably the best duelist left in the galaxy by then. And he, unlike Qui-Gon, he actually was able to fully become a Force ghost, not just a verbal presence. And it's, and he's also just the best, in my opinion. He's a better example of a Jedi than even Yoda. He really became, he just really became the best living example of what a Jedi truly should be. So so that's, for all those reasons, he's my number 2.
Duke is such a troll. Underdog. Underpowered, he literally rocked Vader in the TV series. You didn't see Yoda do that. Sorry, I finished my Star Trek Discovery. I'm still salty.
You finished.
You have done that yourself.
Yeah, definitely a great pick. So.
Well, and I'm trying to find the part too, because it's just kind of a testament to Obi-Wan and his dedication to the Jedi, to the light side of the Force. And unfortunately, just some of the things he could not quite pass on to Anakin just because of Anakin being who he is. But there's even a part in the book where I think it's like he's talking, is him, Yoda, and I think Bail Organa, and they're getting ready to try and sneak into the Jedi Temple, and he's under the assumption Anakin's dead too. Like the whole Order 66 wiped everybody out, and he like just kind of has this moment of like, we have a saying about, and he stops himself because he thinks of himself and Anakin having, because they were like the poster children for the war. They were the hope of the galaxy. But even he is kind of like the testament to him, where he's able to let it describes it as he thinks on this for like this loss, this sorrow for but a brief moment, and like a breath, he lets it pass through himself. He breathes it out, and he relinquishes that attachment. It's not that he like forgets these people or anything like that, but like he knows how to compartmentalize himself, and also just knows how to continue moving on, and not he'll maybe think about it later down the line, especially if you've gone through like the Kenobi book. But it's something that like he lets that grief pass through him and move on, which I just think was just kind of like a really exemplary moment for him, because that's kind of like the whole thing that's trying to be told to Anakin is that yes, you can have grief, you can have these moments, but that attachment is the dangerous part of it, and you have to understand to release that and kind of move on in a healthier way than the way Anakin is trying to move forward with it. And I think that was just a very neat way of showing it through Obi-Wan in the book, and also just how even in that too, like Obi-Wan goes through a kind of a moment of self-doubt where he's blaming himself when they learn it is Anakin that has become Darth Vader. He's the one responsible, and from the book, I have one of that part in particular saved, and he's just saying, no, that was already too late. It was already too late at Geonosis, the Zabrak on Naboo. I should have died there before I ever brought him here. And that's part of his he's regretting bringing Anakin, but it's kind of then the great thing, like Yoda stops him and makes it very clear. It's like, he says to him, make a Jedi fall one cannot, beyond even Lord Sidious this is, chose this, Skywalker did. And it just kind of through that conversation, and like Obi-Wan does come to this realize that yes, that I'm not the blame for this. This is all Anakin's choices. And I think that's what gets lost on a lot of people nowadays, is that they want to, for some reason, put a lot of blame on Obi-Wan when no, he did the best he could with what he was given. And sadly, Anakin was just he was certainly a kind of a broken individual when he picked him up, and he did his best for sure. And No, another thing was like reason why he was chosen to go after Grievous. He wasn't a master of a killing form. He was a master of the defensive form, the very all around form, and what made him a perfect person to go after somebody like Grievous.
Yeah.
Again, an awesome little detail that Mace Windu. I know Kate doesn't like Mace Windu, but I mean, that's a great bit of knowledge that he, passes on to him. Is like, I may have invented the killing form, but you have mastered, a form that's already been in there, a defensive form, something that will help you even take on somebody like Darth Vader later down the line. So.
Yeah, what I like about Obi-Wan's character is depending on like which form of media you listen to or watch or read, he kind of is like the jack of all trades kind of character. He's like the character you can plug in and he kind of fits whatever role he wants to be in. Some portray him as like that fierce general that can like lead a force into battle and kind of knows how to be a great master tactician. Sometimes he's a great negotiator, kind of like one of those people who can use his words more than he can use his fists and everything else like that as well. He's kind of a smartass. He's kind of also he's also kind of sometimes he's portrayed as heartless and mean too. That's another thing. And another time is he's also portrayed as the Jedi who will go and sacrifice whatever he needs to fulfill the duty of being a Jedi Knight and a Jedi Master as well. He is a very unique character in Star Wars because he definitely does, to me, feels like the jack of all trades and the master of none. Like, you don't know what Obi-Wan you're going to get, and especially because he's used so differently in different stories that it's just like sometimes, like you said, he's the young, brash, hip kind of like Jedi Knight, and then other times he's the wise old sage that like is just here to be like the guard dog, I guess you could say, that watches over everything.
Yeah, very true.
And Duke did have to come in here with something that's not a troll comment, saying Obi-Wan is a solid pick for the abomination of a series. Ewan really brought the character to a higher level.
Yes, he did.
Yes, he did.
So I could agree with that, Duke. So.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else have anything you want to pitch in about Obi-Wan before we move on?
I think everything was said was pretty good.
All right. So last thing before we get to our number ones, we like to get to our honorable mentions. So, what are everyone's a few honorable mentions that you have?
I'll throw Prince Shizor from Shadows of the Empire. Kind of like Thrawn in that, he's an alien, an outsider, but a strong leader within the whole Black Sun crime syndicate. He's a unique alien in that he uses pheromones and stuff like that to attract or kind of manipulate in his own way. He's not a Sith, he's not a Jedi or Force sensitive. It's just part of his alien species that makes him his own kind of threat. And his one big slip up was him trying to go after Luke Skywalker, and that's what kind of got him even more under the deadly radar of Darth Vader. So I definitely throw him in as an honorable mention for sure, just because. And hey, another character that they gave a very awesome theme soundtrack to that I mentioned from when we were doing the game choices. And I'd probably throw Anakin in as an honorable mention as well. You'd think he'd be kind of a main one, but I just have a particular for other characters. But I mean, Anakin, he's another great he's the character. He's the Skywalker for the saga, and a very tragic character that goes through this life, but yet through it all has his son that he learns about only recently, and all they learn of each other basically in that recent time, and yet then his son still does the best that he can to bring him back from the brink of darkness that nobody else really could. And I think he just goes on quite the journey himself. And even though we got the prequels later on and people have their Wow, that just took the 11.
Sorry, guys. I think that was my wife playing something.
That was
good.
funny.
But yeah, and then probably to throw Revan on an honorable mention. I felt like he was gonna be kind of an easy pick, which is what I was like. I want to at least throw some interesting characters out. Not to say that it's not bad. I'm just like, who do I pick? And
I think he's fair game to pick, but that's
he's
just
fair.
me.
He's
I
fair
think- I
game,
think
but
he's
then
fair
like,
game.
I also just feel he's so freaking Karpashin in the book and the Sutor. I'm just like, I feel he's so now just kind of tainted a little bit. I'm like, he was
He is
so
a little.
great. His mystique was what helped keep that character so elevated. And once it is an instance where you over explain something and it just kind of but yeah,
Understandable.
you know, I think if there was another one I wanted to throw out there, but for now that I'll stick with that.
Okay.
They should have done a KOTOR 3 instead of the Old Republic
Yeah,
to finish
I
the
don't
story.
think
That's what they really should have done. But
I don't
no,
think
we'll
you'd
never
get
get
much
that.
argument from many people.
Yeah.
I'll go with my honorables, I guess.
All right.
We got to give a shout out to our Lord and Savior who died for our sins, Porkins. Just give a shout out the first original Star Wars meme character, I guess you could throw out there.
Followed
Shout
by
out to-
Wade.
Shout out to Piggy. You gotta give a shout out to Piggy in the Rogue Squadron books. A Gamorrean that was a test experiment from the Empire.
Oh yeah.
Literally named Piggy.
I forgot about that character.
I thought that was so funny when I was going through those books.
So yeah, just want to get that one out of the way because I feel like it's a disservice not to point out good old Porkins, who's lived on a lot longer than his character did in the hearts of all Star Wars fans.
Yep.
Which if Angry Canadian is watching, shame on you for not knowing who Porkins is.
Wait, what?
He didn't know that.
What?
I had to explain it to him.
When was it? Oh, was this when he was on your show?
No, I want to say it was like one random morning. I don't know if it was the day of his stream or a different stream he was doing. But when we brought up Porkins, it was when he was building his Legos. And we brought
on
up
Lego
Porkins.
stream. Okay, I didn't catch that one.
Yeah, and he didn't know who Porkins was. He didn't get the joke, and we just got mad. And then
For shame.
I would say that another honorable mention for me, even though people hate him and say that he was horribly miscast, I still love Mace Windu as a character.
Yes, thank you. He's on my honorable mentions as well.
Yeah,
I gotta give some love to my man Mace Windu K. You
I enjoyed
Mace
him.
Windu hater, you racist.
Out the
thought-
window he goes.
I thought Samuel L. Jackson did a decent job when he played his role. I did like the fact that he was, for me, the first Jedi to have a purple lightsaber too, which I thought that really stood out a lot.
Yeah, he made sure of that.
Yeah, that was not something that was like written in. That was a Samuel Jackson thing. He's like, I want a different color lightsaber so I stand out in a crowd. So they gave him purple.
And I'm okay with that too. I liked how he was portrayed more outside of obviously the movies, and he should have struck down Palpatine. He was right about everything.
Yeah.
He didn't have the power to strike down Palpatine. Let's be
He was
honest.
going to.
Palpatine was just playing with his food. That's all he was doing. He knew what was gonna happen.
I see.
He was just waiting for Anakin to get there. Otherwise, he was gonna fry him out the window.
All right. Well, I guess I'll piggyback off that because Mace Windu was on my honorable mentions as well. Got to give a shout out to my boy Mace Windu, and he's freaking awesome in Tartakovsky Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
Revan, another really cool character. I didn't dislike the Revan book as much as you guys did. But I do like him as a character a lot. And then around that era, probably one of my other favorites from that era is Satele. I thought Satele was awesome, and she was hot, and a pretty
Teal,
awesome.
I would take
master.
over Bastila.
Yeah. All right. I thought she was a great Jedi because she became Grandmaster, I believe, right?
She did.
She did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought she was a pretty awesome Grandmaster.
And then becomes a crazy hermit if you continue the story.
And then another awesome female, smoking hot, red hair. Luke's wife, Mara Jade, is awesome. I love her.
Legit.
Great character. And then my last one, or actually, no, Anakin, but the other Anakin of the Solo children. Anakin Solo was my favorite of the Solo kids. I loved Anakin, and
that's another situation where I would have really been curious to see what they would have done with him, because it sounded like they had a bunch of different plans, but supposedly Lucas wanted him kind of off because he was starting up the prequels and he didn't want there to be confusion of Anakins running around. So they killed the Solo kid. But they were I heard that there was gonna be plans to essentially kind of make him the kind of new poster boy for the Jedi in a sense, and he was gonna be kind of like kind of a redemption for the Anakin name, essentially.
Yeah,
but
exactly. That was one thing that weighed on him too, is being named after his grandfather, Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker, and that weighed on him a lot in his figuring out who he was. But I thought he was a great character, and the way that he went out was pretty boss.
No, it was. It makes me really curious if he's. But I also heard the other plans were to kill Luke, and Lucas was not for that.
Yeah,
which I get. At the same time,
here's my
it was
question,
a very
though.
curious thing.
When they killed off Anakin Solo, because he died in the Yuuzhan Vong War, right? He died.
Yeah,
right
he died
and became one with the Force mid-fight, essentially.
Yeah, in Star by Star, the middle book.
Didn't those books come out after the prequels?
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong about.
Yeah, I thought Yuuzhan Vong came out after the prequels, so I think Anakin Skywalker
after
was already
or
a thing.
during. Now I'm curious. Hang on.
At least certainly the books that late into the series.
Vector Prime came out in October of '99. So when did because Phantom Menace was in the spring, if I remember. It was like March or April.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So not long after. Although I didn't read it for like a decade later.
Phantom Menace was May 19th.
Yeah, May 19th.
May. Okay, yeah, that sounds about right. So, but yeah, well, there's that.
That series did Chewbacca horrible.
Oh God. I mean, I heard the author too took so much shit for that, but I mean, what a way to like really kind of show that there is a danger element to this new saga going on, and that anybody is kind of game in a way.
Well, that's where it was going to be Luke, and he's like, no, and that's when they switched to Chewbacca.
Yeah, well, yeah, the Yuuzhan Vong War, that was kind of like when Star Wars went full on grimdark.
Yeah,
I love
anyone could die, any game. And it was also supposed to be kind of like the biggest, worst war of all in the entire Star Wars history. I mean, literally the largest number of civilians died in the Yuuzhan Vong War by a huge margin. It's not even close.
I think it spanned a longer time, and I think it was also like they're alluding that this was what Palpatine was preparing for.
Yeah, they kind of threw that in as a bit of like an afterthought retcon, which is cool. Kind of cool that Palpatine, supposedly knew they were out there, and that was one reason why.
I thought that was like the point of like
and stuff.
Well, and I thought that was like the point of like outbound flight and stuff like that. Was like there's kind of like that going out into the deeper regions of the galaxy, and that they discovered some of that. Like, oh shit, time to prepare.
Yes, I'm going to kill trillions of people to save trillions of people from being.
Hey, you need to sacrifice. You need to break a few eggs to make an omelet, right? So
it's a hell of an omelet.
At the end of New Jedi Order, the last book, it talks about that near the end of the book, as the number of casualties there was like 360 trillion. I want to say was the number that they gave. So a lot of people died in that war.
Yeah, in Yuuzhan Vong War, by far. I mean, they literally lost like half the galaxy population wise. It was so devastating.
If we still had a strong
it was way
empire,
worse than any of the Sith wars. It was worse than the Clone Wars. It was worse than pretty much any of the wars combined.
See you later, Kay. Have a good evening.
Later, Kay.
So it makes sense that we actually lost some major characters during the Yuuzhan Vong War.
And then the last one on my honorable mentions is the foil to my man Cade Skywalker. I thought Darth Crate was pretty freaking cool.
Oh, that's what I forgot to mention. One of the most hilarious things too is Darth Bane's holocron is him mocking and making fun of Darth Crate, calling him a false Sith, and just berating him like no
multiple
tomorrow.
Sith Lords mocked him.
Yeah, well, multiple
I
Sith
forgot
Lords,
about that.
I just
great.
particularly like
Bane.
Bane just like ripping into him.
It was Bane, Nihilus, and Darth Andedu.
You couldn't understand what Nihilus was saying because he has that weird
it was just
speech.
scribbles. It was just
speech
bubbles. It was just scribbles.
Yeah, but
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew I was wanting to mention that because I just found it so freaking hilarious. Okay, I found it. He's like,
all three
Crate,
of them like, no, you're trash.
Crate calls upon him, Lord Undeadu, Lord Nihilus, Lord Bane, answer me, teach me, such is my will. And Bane is just like, so the would-be Sith returns. My knowledge is not for you. You are not a Sith, pretender, nor are your rabble. This was my lesson. 2 Siths should there be, no more. One holding power, one desiring it. You defy my teachings. It's just fantastic.
That is a great scene. I forgot about that. But yes, Duke Devil. He was a Tusken Raider, a Shard Het.
True.
A Shard Het, and is kind of interesting dynamic between him and Anakin because of his Tusken heritage and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because he was around during that time, and he lived like hundreds of years.
Yeah,
thanks.
Yeah,
to,
Obi-Wan. He actually fought a duel against Obi-Wan on Tatooine and lost an arm, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah,
that's right. I think Obi-Wan took off one of his arms.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That's a really good storyline, especially because it pulls from a more obscure race into the universe that's kind of only just there as like the mindless, like, people that just wandered the desert to see him turn into a Jedi and then a Sith like that.
So, all right. Who else hasn't done their honorable mentions yet?
Because I always have to mention the terrible but game that I love so much of Terrakasi. We're all my Hor and Hor and Thok mains out there. Yeah, but no. And then it's only one time I will put them on my honorable mentions, but it is Kylo Ren. But only when you watch the SNL skits of him doing the
Matt, the radar technician.
Yes.
I love that. Yeah. I love that sketch.
Yes. So that's the only time when Kylo would make an honorable mentions, but then obviously Lando and Han are my real ones. Yeah.
I will allow it. That was a good one. So, all right, Rosie, did you give yours?
Not yet. So I'll do my honorable mentions and then I'll do my
go ahead and go right on into your number one. So I know because I
gotta bounce in a bit. So my honorable mentions are Boba Fett, Darth Bane.
Yes.
They didn't quite make the top 5, but they're in the top 10 for sure. They're up there. Boba Fett, Darth Bane, and Yoda. Yoda is also pretty high up on my list as well.
Yoda's
I like Yoda because he's kind of one of those Jedi where he starts out very dogmatic like Mace Windu in the prequels.
Yeah.
Very, like, no, the Jedi Order are this, and clearly they're wrong. I think that, Anakin proved that they were wrong about a lot of things. And by the time the original trilogy rolls around and he meets Luke, he kind of is, gets on the program with Obi-Wan is like, okay, no, we need to do things differently this time. A lot of the things that we tried in the past, they're not going to work. They're not going to work again. We gotta do some things differently here. So that's one of the cool things that I liked about Yoda. Besides the fact that he's just this really cool, unknown species that has been intentionally kept unknown by George Lucas. And in fact, actually, one of the first times I met Neo in real life, the first thing he asked me to quote test my lore knowledge was.
That's
asked me,
right. I
"Hey,
did do that, didn't I?
yeah, you did. He said, "What Yoda is what species is Yoda?" I was like, "Oh, this is please."
It was a
child's play."
trick question.
Yeah, it's like it's unknown. It's never been revealed.
Yep.
I was like, all right,
He knows
intentionally
he's
friends.
He's like, all right.
You have passed.
Yep, he's one of my people.
You have chosen wisely.
Yes.
Well,
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, just because I love the novelization of Revenge of the Sith so goddamn much.
Yeah, it's really good.
I wish they would kind of remaster it with the soundtrack from the Revenge of the Sith movie because oof, love it. But
Mhm.
I mean, it is just so again like that extra revelation that is shown in the books and everything is I love it when he is in that battle with Palpatine and he's coming to that realization for one of like I mentioned earlier, oh shit, we messed up. We didn't evolve, the Sith did. And now this is why we have lost.
Yeah.
And then
he realizes in that moment, even if he wins the duel against Palpatine, he still lost the war. Order 66 still happened. The Jedi still got wiped out.
Yep.
And it almost doesn't even really matter if he beats Palpatine or not. So when it kind of ended in a draw, more or less at the end, he chose to flee. He was like, yeah, he made the right choice.
And that is for them to fight another day and also to like you said to change to get a second chance of training a new Jedi in a different way. And like Obi-Wan was very much I'll take the boy and I'll begin to train him up, and Yoda stops him, is like no. Well, it's kind of like what Qui-Gon was trying to teach them to. It was trying to show his way of the living Force and stuff like that. It's like the Force will show you when it's time to take them on as apprentices, basically. And that was what Yoda was like. We'll wait, and when the time is right, they'll be taught. That was like, oh, fantastic. And then like I love the little conversation between him and Qui-Gon before the birth of the twins, and they're kind of having this back and forth on Yoda's is kind of in a bit of doubt, but Qui-Gon is just kind of reassuring that there is a way for us to come out of this on top. It's just going to take time.
Yeah.
And
gotta
I will
play
help.
the long game.
Yeah. Just like the Sith did. We got to play a little bit of a long game ourselves, and I'll teach you what I have learned, and you'll be able to perfect it, basically. So, and I thought, fantastic. Again, it's like such a fantastic extra little additives to the story that just puts that cherry on top of. To me, was already
it's poetry. It rhymes.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to channel my inner Lucas there for a minute.
Absolutely. But it's just that cherry on top of already what I thought was a fantastic way of just closing out that trilogy. More to it, and I was like, well, damn, that really just helps it out.
Yeah. All right.
And no, Duke, no mention of Lumpy or Itchy the pervy grandpa from the holiday special.
No, I got you, Duke. B. Arthur, the bar runner in the holiday special. Can't forget B. Arthur.
All right, Rosie, let's start us off with your number one so you can bounce out when you need to.
Okay, so my number one, yes, maybe it's a cop-out, but it is none other than Revan. I'm sorry. He's my number one.
Don't apologize.
Never apologize.
These are your favorite characters, and no one can tell you
for a
otherwise.
reason. Well, and yes, and to show how serious I am, this is my mouse pad I have of him.
Nice.
That I got on Etsy. Freaking awesome. Anyway. I remember still, it's like a core memory for me, playing through KOTOR for the first time, which took me forever when I was a kid, by the way. Because when I was younger, I just sucked at RPGs. I just didn't really understand. And KOTOR is a complicated RPG. It was my first RPG I ever played, and it's a complicated one because it's based on like Dungeons and Dragons for like dice rolls and all that stuff. And I had never played So yeah, it took me I want to say like about 2 years before I finally got through it, because just because of my age and all that stuff when I played through it the first time. And it was my introduction to RPGs. But I remember when I was finally got the hang of the game and I started to get through it, at a faster rate once I finally figured out what I'm doing and how I'm supposed to play the game. I remember getting up to that moment when Malik, drops the twist, and
The Revan bomb.
yeah, well, and I agree with Neo on this, that it's probably, I think it's the single greatest twist in video games of all time. Maybe, and it's up there. It's up there in movies too. It's up there with like the plot twist from The Sixth Sense for me. It's very, very high up there.
Yeah,
it's that moment
agreed.
of, oh, holy crap! I'm the Sith Lord. I'm the ultimate badass in the galaxy. Oh shoot!
Yeah, out of all media, that's one of
I
the
almost
biggest
can't
plot
believe it.
twists that blew my mind.
Yeah, and the reason why it works so well in that kind of game is because your protagonist is silent the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of why it works so well, is because it was an older style RPG where the main character is not voice acted, so you don't know what his voice sounds like. You don't know if you're supposed to be imprinting on him or what, which I guess you're supposed to kind of be, because you created through a character creation model. But yeah, it was just awesome. And then Coder 2 comes out, and all this lore comes out about him, about how powerful he is, about how he's kind of a proto Anakin in a way. He's kind of almost a chosen one of his time, because he's just this natural, talented prodigy that no one could keep up with him. In fact, he had several masters in the Jedi Order before he finally left, because he just learned at such an advanced rate. He's like, nope, I've surpassed you. I need a new master. Okay, now I've surpassed you. Okay, and I need another master. Okay, now I've learned everything from you, etc., etc. And I think that's part of why it was so devastating when he turned to the dark side. No one could really go up against him. He was just too good. He just knew too much. And then, of course, there's other things in lore about him that are awesome. That that Carl mentioned, like he's a great tactician. In fact, he's probably the number 2 best tactical genius in all of Star Wars after Thrawn. If I were to rank them, I'd probably say Thrawn is number 1, Revan is number 2, and Obi-Wan is probably number 3. Or somewhere around there, because Obi-Wan's right there as well, in terms of tactician strategy. But yeah, that's Revan for you.
Very nice.
Yep, good. I obviously knew that one, but
Well, it even kind of showed how Malik had to take him out in the way that he did, completely distracted, under threat of Jedi.
Oh,
and he had to. How he lost his jaw. Yeah. I mean, how he lost his jaw was challenging Revan.
That reminds me. Have you guys seen it's fan made, but it's coded in Unreal Engine. Mm-hmm. They actually made the CGI in Unreal Engine, and it's of Malik turning on Revan on. It's basically showing how he lost his jaw. Have you guys seen that?
I've seen that. Yeah, we've gone over it. It's really good.
I have not seen that.
Thing is. I'll send the link to you tonight, Neo. It's freaking awesome.
Yeah, I was gonna say, really cool. Send me that link and I'll put it, or I'll have Jason put it in the stream description, so if anyone else watches it and wants to go check that out.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's so well done. Something like that. Like if it was just given a little bit more polish, like the Blur Studios animations, Blur Studios videos that did the Old Republic cinematics. If it just had like a bit more of a budget like that, it'd be 10 out of 10. It'd be perfect.
I think and they were supposed to be continuing work on it, but I think they had to close the project down.
I think Disney hit them with
it might have been it might have been.
I think that's why they had to cease it. Yeah. Ooh, shock. Yeah, you're not even doing anything with this section of Star Wars, Disney, but sure, hit them with a strike, idiots. Anyway, yeah, but aside from what they did to him in the novel, some parts of the novel were cool. I kind of liked some parts of the whole, like him being able to kind of tap into the unifying force, kind of like what Grandmaster Luke would eventually be able to do, where he kind of use aspects of the light or dark side, as such, particularly when he eviscerated Darth Neris. With Force lightning. That was, even though he's technically a Jedi again, that was freaking awesome. But then there were other things too, like how easily he was like mind manipulated by Vitiate and stuff like that. Is like,
Well, and then just like the final battle, like I said, with when it's revealed in the Darth Bane novel, how he makes it very clear to be, to embrace certain power, you have to go all in. So you're either going to embrace being the light or you're going to embrace being the dark. And I would have figured for Revan to fight the dark, he would have had to embrace the light, gone full in, but he tries to skirt that middle ground, which is his ultimate downfall. But I'm like, he just got all of his memories back. What the hell is going on here? He got the mask, he's back. Let's go. No, he gets jobbed out, and then they kill Mitra, and I thought it was like the biggest mistake he didn't bring HK. I'm like, how do you not bring your freaking murder droid that knows how to kill Jedi and Sith?
Yeah. Well,
what the hell?
Even before the novel, they actually kind of implied that in KOTOR 2 that Revan could sort of skirt the line a little bit, because Kreia actually stated quite explicitly that did Revan actually fall to the dark side, or did he make a sacrifice?
But that was always kind of Kreia's little job of kind of playing mind games with your character as it was, and really questioning certain decisions and everything. Like she blurred a lot of what she was telling even you at times, and like I don't know, like I think some of that's kind of meant to be taken with a bit of a grain of salt. But I mean, she is, at the end of the day, she is a Darth. She is a Darksider. She's just hiding her real self.
She's awesome. Just be honest.
Oh no, she's a fantastic character. I'm just saying that she's kind of playing the manipulator in all of this.
She's like an
yeah, she is. She's kind of Palpatine. She's kind of like Palpatine for her time. Yeah, definitely manipulating a lot of events behind the scenes that you're not aware of it. But she also serves as the narrator for the whole purpose of the game, which was KOTOR 2 was supposed to be a deconstruction of Star Wars, of the Force, but done tastefully, unlike Rian Johnson, the hack. And kind of like, hey, a lot of what you thought you knew about the Force, some of this we're gonna challenge some beliefs and assumptions about that. Right. And one of those I like is that you can fall to the dark side, kind of like what Luke did in Dark Empire, where he fell, but he thought he was making a sacrifice. You know what I'm saying?
But I think it's like the whole like what was learned for Luke's time is that redemption is a possibility. It's not because what the Jedi originally believed was like, once you fall to the dark side, that's it. That you're gone, you're done for. But that was the difference in Luke's Jedi, was because he ran into people that were remnant. There were some survivors of Order 66, but just not to the level Disney has made it to.
Yeah.
But there were remnants. Very little, and then there were also just students and stuff that fell to the dark side, much like Kyle did. But he knew that there was a path to redemption, and that's kind of, I think, what he also learned through the Dark Empire arc, and from his father. There is an ability to come back from the dark side.
Yeah, well, I think he already knew there was a path to redemption because of Return of the Jedi after he saved his father.
Just a little more knowledge to it is what was helpful.
Yeah. But yeah, anyways, so Revan was kind of, in KOTOR 2, even before the novel, they kind of implied that Revan was, maybe maybe it was more of a surrender rather than a fall when he fell to the dark side.
Oh, yeah. For that,
because he knew that, hey, this true Sith Empire, which was very different, in Chris Avalon's mind before the Old Republic was made, before they kind of did it to created Vitiate and all this other thing. There was this concept of the true Sith Empire, but the original idea is oh gosh, I'm trying to think of the name. What's the name of that powerful Neo? You might know this. What's the name of the powerful race in Stargate? They're kind of like Reapers.
The Asgard. The Replicators.
Yeah, I think so. But they come in and they just wipe the galaxy every thousands of years. They kind of repeat the cycle of death and destruction over and over and over again.
We're talking about in Star Wars?
No, no, no.
Stargate.
I think it's Stargate.
Because
I don't know who would have been
Filter
that in
knows Stargate really
It-
well as well. And
Actually, it might be, or is it Babylon 80? I can't remember which one, but it's in one of those.
So many
it's in one of
different
the franchises.
sci-fi stories that
I
have
know,
certain,
yeah.
I'll say, I don't,
certain things like that. I'm like, I'm trying to, because
like
I mean,
Filter's big on
robot-wise,
Stargate
yeah.
as well, and I don't think either of us know what you're talking about, so I don't think it's
Yeah.
Stargate.
not for
It's
yeah,
probably
not
not
for,
Stargate. Yeah, I'm not well versed in either of those franchises, so I'm not trying to profess anything. So I'll just. Oh, yes, Babylon 5, The Shadows.
the Shadows.
Yes.
Yeah,
I've never
Yeah,
seen Babylon 5, so I do not know.
Yeah,
Thank you,
they
Duke.
were yeah. Chris Avalon said like they were actually intending to make, if Obsidian was granted the green light to do a Coder 3, that's what they were going to make the true Sith Empire as. Hence Krea's warning of like, no, these things are absolutely horrible. It's like what you thought was bad, like fighting nihilists and all that. Like that's just the taste. That's just the tip of the iceberg of what these things are capable of.
right.
And they're out there, they're out there hiding in deep space or the unknown regions. And Revan went off to fight them on his own, which just solidifies just how much of an extreme badass he is. So, and then they ruined it with the Old Republic. Yay, thank you guys. So, but
Yay.
anyway, yeah, that's my number one.
All right. Well, thanks for hanging out with us. I'm glad you could make your debut and join us for talking about Star Wars.
Yeah, thanks,
Yeah, it was
guys.
fun.
Yeah, it was very fun.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I know you're
Yeah.
not really on the YouTubes or anything. But anything you want to plug?
Not in particular, other than that awesome Unreal Engine fight
Yeah.
between Revan and Malik. I'll find it. I'll send it to Neo like in a couple minutes, and then you guys can plug it in the stream. It's
Cool.
awesome. I really want more like Star Wars fan made stuff like that to come out, because obviously we can't trust Disney to make anything good.
No.
Yeah.
It's kind of up to the fans to keep it alive again. So anyway,
All right. Well, great hanging out with you, and I will talk to you later.
later guys. Bye.
Have a
Thank you
good
so
one.
much.
Have a good one.
So, Carl, did you find that Game Awards video?
I found the things, but it's like hours, and I'd have to sift through it all. And,
Okay, no worries.
I unfortunately did not find it.
Okay, I was gonna say if you did, go ahead and send me that link as well, and we'll get it
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
stream description. But if not, no worries. So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, we already got filters number one, so
Yeah.
I'll have to skip over that. I guess I'll go next. I kind of hinted at it since I said we're gonna flip flop. So his number two is my number one, and that's Darth Bane. Freaking
Yeah.
the most badass dude in the galaxy, in my opinion. I mentioned it, I think, on our last top five, but Mass Effect's my favorite video game franchise of all time, and I read the Mass Effect books. They're right there, and that's why I discovered Drew Karpyshyn. And on the inside cover of one of them, it said he'd written some Star Wars books. I'm like, oh, I love his
Cool.
Mass Effect books. I'll go check out his Star Wars stuff because I love Star Wars books. And that's how I accidentally stumbled upon the Darth Bane trilogy and immediately fell in love with Bane. And ever since, like almost from not really page one, but basically from page one, I was like, this dude is my favorite character. He's so awesome. One thing that we didn't mention when you brought Darth Bane up is he was basically invincible for most of his trilogy because of his Orbalisk armor, which was like the coolest thing ever.
The end of the first, the whole second book, he's basically invincible with that Orbalisk armor.
And he loses it at the end of book 2, or is it the beginning of book 3?
No, at the end of book 2 is when he loses it, because Githany, and she wasn't wrong, but she definitely implants doubt, because he keeps trying to craft a holocron,
his own holocron, but he couldn't because of the armor.
because of the Orbalisk. They kept creating an imbalance in him because of the way they parasitically fed off of his dark side powers.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I mean, he was missing certain key components or the means to craft the holocron, which is why then he sent Githany out to find the ability to remove the Orbalisks, and then he went to the planet that he was searching for to get the holocron to learn. I forgot the Sith that he is on Tython. and then he learned that he needed to learn something about aligning the matrices within the holocron to finally like really secure it. And then he's like, okay, now I need the orbalisk off because these things have hindered me. And then it's when Githany is heading to Tython after being discovered thanks to her cousin, Root, I think it was.
That sounds right.
Brings some Jedi with her on her tail. They
Yeah.
have a crazy battle. Bane is basically tanking everything that they throw at him, but and it is only thanks to the Orbalisk armor. But what I think is particularly great, even after losing the armor, is that in the intro of book 3, he is in the start of it. He's he's outside.
Yes, I was gonna bring that up. That scene was so awesome.
He's outside. He has his lightsaber and he's doing his morning routine. And it begins to rain. He's doing his routine of practices of flurries and stuff like that. The rain stops and he's dry as a bone. And I'm like, well, holy shit! Other than the sweat.
Yes, it was.
Other than
he was sweat. Dry, other than his sweat, while he's practicing in the rain. I was like, that's so badass.
And it's really just this crazy testament to this, like how focused, how driven Bane was to be the Sith among Sith, to be that embodiment of power for Zana to crave. But the funny thing is too, is that he himself gets so impatient because he wants her to succeed him, but she's not showing signs. He's getting frustrated. He's like, I've been teaching you how to do this. I want you to do this properly, essentially. And
yeah, because the whole thing with the rule of 2 is the apprentice becomes powerful enough to defeat the master and kill him.
Right, which
he's worried that she's just biding her time until he gets too old.
Yeah, until he gets too old, too frail, because because of the Orbalisk, he kind of has this this kind of shake in his left hand, I think it was. And he's always trying to hide it from her. And so he's trying not to show weakness, but he wants her to beat him at his best while she's at her best.
Yeah, doesn't prove that she's worthy of the mantle of Sith.
Absolutely. And like that's why I said I think he would. While Zana does continue the line, he was just the most determined to make this new way for the Sith to go on. And to eventually, and he realized he would not be alive to potentially see the fall of the Jedi, but he wanted it to be perfect. He wanted it to be the right way for the Sith to eventually have their revenge.
Yeah, he's laid the foundations for Palpatine to do what he did.
Absolutely. He has the spy networks that are getting cooked up and everything and going, all for Xana to eventually take over, but it's funny because he himself is getting a little impatient because he's acknowledging he's getting older. He's not so up to snuff of what he was in his prime for sure, and especially thanks to the damage of the Orbalisk armor removal, he feels it. So he wants her to take over in the proper time, and then that's what then makes him seek out the holocron for essence transference. And it is kind of funny because she's like, Zana gets pissed off. She thinks he's breaking the rule of 2 and what that means. But then she comes to the realization, no. He's doing what he has to. And he's doing the right thing because it is still maintaining his power, his proper place. Because if she can't beat him, then she's only showing she isn't worth taking over that line if she still can't beat him, even if he does essence transference.
Yeah, and he'll need to find a new apprentice, and he'll need to live longer to do it. And so that's why he was looking for some way to extend his life.
Absolutely. So while like the later books aren't my favorites, they still have really great moments in between that really make it worth it. And it's like, oh, goddamn! Even though he's an evil sack of shit, he's still just such a fascinating and awesome freaking character, especially in book 2. When he basically free falls onto the one of the moons of Onderon.
Oh yeah, he flew
And
across the planets because the moon was so close to the
yeah,
planet.
he first gets the beast mount, flies across because he locates where Zana is, and then basically like, jumps off of the dactyl thing or whatever, free falls like a freaking comet almost. But thanks to the Orbalisks, he survives, and then he beats the shit out of the Beastmasters that are there threatening Zana, and he's like, "All right, let's go, kid."
Yeah, and so if anyone hasn't read the Darth Bane trilogy, I definitely recommend it. They're
so
my
good.
favorite Star Wars books, and they're the reason why Darth Bane's my number one. He's so awesome, and
Well, it's kind of funny because he gets the idea from his lightsaber master.
what was his name?
I'm trying. I forgot.
Kasim
Kasim. I want to say it was Kasim. Hang on.
or Kasim, something like that. He was a Twi'lek.
Yeah, it was a Twi'lek. Oh yeah, Daravit was Zana's cousin.
Yeah.
Where is it? I'm trying to. Yeah, because there's either I want to say Kasim was the kind of the more.
Or was that the other
lush...
student that he killed?
No, not Foharg or Sirac.
Sirac, that's what I was thinking of.
No, I guess you're right. Kasim was the Blade Master.
Blade Master? Okay, I thought so.
Because the Kasim tells him about how he took his because he's like, he asks him about the lightsaber that he gives him, and he's like, oh, that was my master's lightsaber, which is the hook lightsaber that Bane takes from him.
Yeah, because Bane had a curved lightsaber, like
yeah, Bane. Yep, he has the curved lightsaber, and Kasim tells him that was his old master's lightsaber, and he took it from him by killing him for it because he challenged him at a time where he felt his power surpassed his master. And yeah, he beat his master and proved he was the stronger Sith. And that was kind of like extra guidance to Bane, realizing that's how, from apprentice to master, how one has to take the mantle to move on and continue this line in a way. And then with Revan's teachings, it just grew, and he created the rule of two.
Yeah. So, not related to Bane, but Duke Devil says, "What? Watch Babylon 5. I'm currently watching SG1 thanks to this guy. I'm in the middle of season 2 right now, so I'm watching a couple episodes a week. But once I watch all the way through SG1 again, I may give Babylon 5 a shot. Let's see here. What was the episode I watched last night? I did just watch a couple nights ago. One of my favorite episodes ever, A Matter of Time. I'll just leave it at that. But I watched.
I think I know which one that is.
I don't remember which one I just watched last night, but yeah, great show. But yeah, Darth Bane, freaking awesome, and yeah, he was just a beast. He was a giant guy too, and then he gets even more hulking with the Orbalisk armor. Didn't even have to worry about defense. But even though he didn't have to worry about defense, he was still incredibly skilled, saber wielder. So even after he lost it, he didn't need it to win. In
it just enhanced the danger that he already presented.
Yeah. So, let's go with Carl. We'll finish off with Jason.
Okay, so my number one is a part of the Yuzong Fong Wars and everything else like that. I really liked her. I thought that she was kind of like what could have been Luke Skywalker if Anakin never fell to the dark side. My number one character, who's been my favorite for quite some time, is Jaina Solo.
Oh,
good
the
pick.
Sword of the Jedi.
Yeah,
the book that never happened.
Yeah. the what I wanted to see on the movie screens and never will get. I just think that her character arc is a very interesting one. She kind of starts off as a little bit of like her father's her father's daughter, basically, where she's kind of more like a rapscallion, I guess that's the funny way to say it. She's more of like just into ships, kind of like out there, stubborn, hard-headed. And then as things progress in her story, she starts to become more of a Jedi, starts to understand her powers. Obviously, all the events that happen with the Yuzong Fong War, where she loses her brother, where she loses family members, where she loses friends. She's part of Rogue Squadron. She's a great starfighter. She's got a purple lightsaber, so already that made me more interested in everything too. And just the whole storyline with her brother Jason falling to the dark side, becoming a giant Sith Lord, and how she has to basically train up to basically take out her own twin brother. It is a very, I wouldn't say original storyline by any means, but Star Wars in itself isn't always full of original ideas, but it's so well done, well executed, and you get to see like a character grow in every sense of the word of growth.
Well,
From
and I'd
beginning
say
to
with
end. Go on.
oh, I was just gonna say what's like with the whole thing between her and Jason. It's just like that kind of weird, like such a added like tragedy to it too, is like because it as it's described as just as she's striking him down, she feels him returning to the light side and set like through the force, making it possible to save his daughter. And it's just like what a almost like almost in a way a horrible feeling that as she strikes him down, he's returning to his normal self, but I mean, he's sacrificing in a way, but it's just still such a hell of a thing that she's striking down her twin, another part of her, in this moment of where yes, he's trying to kill her, she's trying to kill him, but he still has a moment of returning, like I said, I don't know if it's redemption, but like just kind of coming back to the light and then still cut down like that. I was like, holy shit, that's kind of dark and brutal in its own way, just because of how it goes down. But at the same time, he's saving a life because of like this weird, kind. And I believe it's through his own machinations of causing some of this shit too. But like this weird like kill virus thing that was gonna be striking out against that part of his family line, and he prevents it. So he like did a good, but then he struck down immediately.
On top of that too, it's I find that storyline between Anakin, Jason, and Jaina to be so interesting because you really see that they really do love each other as siblings too.
Oh yeah, they were tight. Yeah.
Isn't if I recall correctly, Jason actually names his ship the Anakin Solo. If I recall,
He does.
correctly,
Yeah.
right?
And there's a bit of like even kind of, I think Han or Leia is particularly bitter about it because it's like you are doing these evil deeds or starting up basically a new empire under the flagship of their youngest son, who's gone now. And this is like there is this bitterness towards it too because of the way he's using that name and everything. There's like, how dare you?
Yeah, and just kind of like what you're saying, when we don't have like when people go like, well, Star Wars doesn't have any deep storylines or something like that. Well, this is a real dark storyline.
It is, yeah.
Beginning to end. Like it starts kind of like more upbeat and everything. It's like and then the Yuzong Vong War comes, and then it's just like the aftermath of the Yuzong Vong War. It's just
Yeah, there was so much that everybody was trying to come back from, and people just were not healing that well. And Jason takes such a dark turn himself, and oof, oof.
yeah, it's one of the better storylines of character growth and development is still what I like to harp on with Jaina because, like I said, she's more of a starfighter to begin her storyline than she is an actual Jedi, and then by the end of it all, she's one of the more interesting Jedi to lead the Jedi Order too.
Right.
And on top of that too, the trials of tribulation is just to see, basically the Skywalker solo family destroy itself so much in this storyline
God.
too.
Yeah.
You know, she loses her brother. She loses her brother. Her other brother kills her aunt, and then she has to kill her brother. It's like, it's it's such a crazy storyline just to think about. Like, how would you be in that situation?
I'm
And,
still bitter about that. How I'm like, God damn it, you killed off Mara like that. Fuck you. Sorry, I'm just
And-
like, oh.
And doesn't she also have to? I'm trying to remember. It's been such a long time, but doesn't she also train with Mandalorians to also try to overcome?
Yeah,
that hesitation.
That was
With
part
Boba
of what
Fett.
got me to kind of dig Boba Fett and stuff, and like, oh, okay, so they are still kind of continuing some old Mandalorian traditions and stuff like that in combat and everything like that. Because like I'll always say I'm still trying to learn a lot of the expanded universe storylines and stuff like that. I still got a lot of stuff to get through, so I'm still learning. But I thought that was really kind of cool because then she's also learning the Shatterpoint technique that Mace Windu is famous for, and being able to use it to find the weak points of armor to take Titus out, because he's like wearing like special, I think he's wearing like special Beskar armor or something like that. So between learning combat from the Mandalorians, she's also trying to also perfect the Shatterpoint technique to help her. She's just trying to learn all these tools possible to become basically an assassin to taking out her own twin brother.
Yeah, exactly. Like, how can I say this? It feels like with some modern writing, it feels like sometimes the character just kind of is awesome and good at everything. But it feels like when I read this storyline, and not just hers in particular, it just feels like everyone around her kind of goes through some trials and tribulation, and there's real stakes and loss. And I feel like Jaina Solo just kind of like amplifies like what could have been, say, for example, if Anakin never fell to the dark side to me in some aspects. And she kind of takes the place of like what Luke Skywalker could have been if everything kind of like progressed in a natural order.
I think in some ways that's where Ben Skywalker kind of came into the picture.
Mm-hmm.
I think he might have been kind of that too, especially with, like the later books with the whole Abeloth or whatever. That I still need to get through that book line. That's like the last set of books before the EU was basically shut down. But yeah, I see what you're saying though for Jaina for sure.
So that's my number one, Jaina Solo.
Excellent, good pick. I had a feeling it might be on someone's list somewhere. So, all right, Jason, why don't you finish us off?
All right. So mine number one is not going to take as much time because my number one was stated way earlier in the show. And to me, what's cooler than a Jedi is an assassin of a Jedi. So my number one is General Grievous.
Okay.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, being taught by Count Dooku to take out Jedi
Yeah.
is just awesome in a way. Like you're getting taught to be trained to take on what is known in the galaxy as like the strongest people, and you're just, when you do take them out, your trophy is usually taking their lightsaber to use them. I mean, that's just awesome in my book. So granted, the other story stuff that he's got, is great, but like Carl said earlier in the show, I mean, as you were stating everything about Grievous, I was like trying to hold my smile in the whole time because I'm like, yep, this is why he's my number one. This is why he's my number one. Like, so yeah, everything you said when you put him at your number 5, I'm like, yeah, this is how awesome he is. And this is why he's my number one.
I was doing the same thing when Filter was talking about Bane.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't know if I've heard that Labyrinth of Evil is a novel. It's a novel from the EU, but it's supposed to be touching more on General Grievous. I've heard it's really good, so I don't know. That might be something if you want to ever check out. I need to check it out myself because, like I said, I've heard it's pretty good. And it's supposed to be like extra story details for Grievous, because he is an interesting character for sure. And yeah, like former Kaleesh warrior turned cyborg.
Right.
which again is this kind of funny. Like people, like I wish I had the post saved, but it's like, Darth Maul, Count Dooku, and General Grievous are all kind of reflections of what Anakin goes through into becoming Darth Vader and everything, and it's kind of an interesting dichotomy between them. So
almost sound like you were setting up for a Star Wars joke. Grievous, Darth Maul,
yeah,
and Anakin walk into a bar.
Almost, yeah. But no, I mean, again, just not just like his introduction in the Tartakovsky Clone Wars series, but then when he's attacking Coruscant and going after Palpatine to capture him and everything, like he's still just such a beast, ripping through all of the defenses of Coruscant. They planned it out so well, and he's relentless. He's just dogging them the whole way. And even though the Jedi, with their abilities and their powers, they cannot stop this non-force user. He's just so determined and he takes them out. He beats oh god, I'm trying to remember her name.
The Jedi Master.
Yeah, God.
I think I know which one you're talking about.
It's so funny because she has like multiple different styles of dying. Either through the novelization or deleted scenes.
You're not talking about
Chuck T,
are you?
Yeah,
Chuck T.
I was thinking of a different one.
No, yeah, like I mean, he takes her out, even though she has her own kind of prestige within her abilities and stuff like that. There's also this kind of, during that whole chase scene, this is kind of funny too, with the I think it's the Ithorian that amplifies his voice to try and blast away Grievous, but they do stop him, but it's only for that moment, as then he's seen freaking charging down right next to the elevator.
Oh, that scene is so funny, man, when the clone trooper shoots a rocket at him like it's just
no
a typical day at the
hesitation.
office.
No hesitation, just goes for it because they're like, we need to stop this guy one way or another. But still, I mean, just relentless. So, I mean, and at least it gives a bit. I mean, I guess it might be a cheap explanation, but at least they give an explanation why he's kind of hacking and wheezing and Revenge of the Sith and everything. But
yeah, with Mace Windu.
Yeah, Mace Windu is the cause of it.
Yeah.
He's crushed him, and I was like, that was another badass moment for Mace Windu. He's just like, whoa, and it's just like, ooh, hello.
Mace.
Yep. So yeah, no, I can understand that.
Excellent. All right, well, it rounds out our top fives. That was a lot of fun, as always. But before we head on out here, I'll pass it over to Jason before we say our goodbyes.
All right. So we got the top five already going, but because of ties, there's actually 6 on our 5 for this. So in tying for our 5th place is HK-47 and Boba Fett. 4th, all by himself, is going to be General Grievous. And because all you guys couldn't make up your mind on who was the best, we have a tie for 1st. And there's 3 of them.
Oh, wow.
So I know what 2 of them are.
Exactly.
Oh, so I think I know what all 3 are. But
you probably, yeah. So our number ones, the 3 number ones for now,
yes,
is Darth Bane, Darth Revan, and Kyle Katarn.
Yep. Yeah, that's an excellent list of top 3 number ones.
We're so predictable.
It'll be very interesting to see how that changes
Great
when we do another top 5 Star Wars characters.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
All right.
Nice.
Well, thank you for that, Jason. And thank you guys for coming on for another top 5. I had a blast. As usual, you guys are great.
Yeah.
Let's go around the horn and plug whatever you got to plug. We'll go ahead and start with Carl and work counterclockwise.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for coming out tonight and watching us. I hope you enjoyed it. My name is Carl of the RNG Gaming Podcast. I usually do Friday and Saturday nights with an interview and or game streaming. This Friday, 7 p.m. Central, I will be having on Big Dog Jake.
Oh yeah.
And we're going to be talking about the most metal video games in our lives.
I
And,
definitely cannot wait to watch that one.
And then Saturday, I have YouTuber Joe from Seattle on to do a little bit of an interview with him. Joe from Seattle, if you're not familiar with his content, is a salt miner. So he likes to bring up people who do console warring and poke fun of their like crazy tweets.
I was like,
that.
are we talking literal salt miner or figurative salt miner?
I was wondering where we were going with this.
Yeah. But he seems like a fun guy, very stable, like reasonable guy to talk to. Actually seems pretty fun in our private chats that we've been having. So I can't wait to have him on and get to know him better. He has a very interesting story, and I hope everyone comes by for them live or watch them later on. Always appreciate it. And as always, I will throw in a Neo, you are a bastard for making me play Crackdown 2.
You didn't mention that on the last one of your RNGs.
I know. I think I was nice to you on that one.
So you had to put the little jab here at the end of this one.
There you go.
Also, Carl, you better
Crackdown together.
Yeah, Carl, you should. I know I'm the fighting game guy, but I hope one of you guys has Guilty Gear as one of your metal games, because if you guys don't, I'm gonna be very sad, because that is like one of the most ultimate metal games, because the developer makes the game because he has a band and wants to put his music in the game. So that is why it's
cool. Actually, I didn't know that.
That's pretty. Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's he keeps making the fighting game because it's his excuse to keep making music for his games, and obviously just it's great as it is.
Well, you know what, Jason, I've been thinking of doing something with you, and I didn't know you were such a huge fighting game fan, so now I have an idea to look into.
Cool. All right. Filter, what do you got going on?
Yeah, well, just like this, thanks again for having me on. This was fun as hell. Nothing like talking Star Wars in a very positive light. We make our jokes, but we have fun. Yeah, I am the Fractured Filter. You can find me on YouTube, Kick, Twitch, Odyssey, Rumble, where I'll be playing Knights of the Old Republic 2 probably Wednesday or Thursday. And tomorrow for sure, I will be joining in Melee Games for the Team Fortress 2 play, which I'm really looking forward to, because I have not been in a group of people playing that for quite some time. Looking forward to that. And like I said, I'll possibly be playing Knights of the Old Republic 2, getting through more of that. And of course, Thursday, I hate time trying to remember time zones. 5:30 Pacific Standard Time. I'm always joining Static 2020 on his weekend pregame as we talk about the clown world, making fun of it, and with so much of the drama going on right now, who knows what we'll be discussing this week. So tune in for that. It's always a blast. We always have fun. And of course, Saturday night Sith, 4 p.m. Mountain Time, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Catch myself, Jay Hitman, and my brother Sheefster as we discuss about whatever the heck does come up that we want to talk about, from games, from Star Wars to you name it. And we end it with some positivity by watching Stargate SG-1. And this week it's we're still in season 1, but we're getting through it. We're almost near the end. We are on episode 20, There But For the Grace of God. Great episode, dealing with kind of parallel universe stuff, but in a very, very interesting way. I enjoy it. It's a great episode. Definitely one of my favorite of season 1. So, and if anybody wants to be in on it, by all means, I can always shoot you the link. Just let me know. It's a fun time. We talk during it. We kind of do a little MSTing on the episode while we have our fun enjoying the episode. So, otherwise, that's all she wrote from me, folks.
Good stuff. I just looked it up, and the last episode I watched was the one where Apophis basically wants asylum on Earth.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, that one too. Jeez. That one.
So
is it good? Isn't that where he's also he's dying too, technically?
Yes.
Oh, God. That's a good episode.
I haven't really watched Stargate. I need to watch it. I've only watched 2 things of Stargate. There was a cartoon show
There was
that
a cartoon show?
I think there was a cartoon show that I used to
Was
watch
there?
like super early in the morning. I feel like it was a Stargate cartoon show because there was like one episode I remember in particular where it was like a half alien
Oh,
was
there
like on the
was
team.
Stargate
I've never heard of
Infinity,
this.
apparently.
Yeah, I used to watch that. I know about that. And then there was like one episode, but I don't remember if it was Stargate Atlantis
2002
or
to
something.
2003. Huh.
I did not know about this. I'll have to look into this.
And I forget the episode, but
Oh.
what you guys might know this, but there was a black guy on one of the Stargates, and he had like a mark on his
Teal?
head.
Yeah, Teal. He's
Teal,
one of the main
that's
characters.
SG1. That's SG1.
Okay, because I remember episode they went to like medieval Europe and they like killed him or something. I don't know. That's like the only episode I can remember off the top of my head.
Well, definitely a great show to go back and watch. I have been having a blast rewatching it because I watched it once, basically when it aired back in the. I got into it in the early 2000s, and it's been great rewatching it. So I may join you this week, Filter. We shall see.
No problem, sir. I know you got your own busy schedule. It's all good.
That's so crazy. You guys didn't know about the cartoon show.
I did not.
I just looked it up and I've never watched it, but I was aware of it. I just forgot. You just reminded me of it. That's all.
I didn't know about it, but looking at it, it makes sense because IMDb ratings 3.5 out of 10.
Yeah, it was terrible.
So,
Not their best. Not their best.
all right. Jason, you got anything to plug? You got anything scheduled here on your channel?
No. Well, yes and no. We obviously got top 5 in 2 weeks. As you guys are on the channel, we haven't announced which one it is yet. I think we will probably via Twitter or something like that because I think we have a couple ideas. Unless you have one that you wanted to do in 2 weeks right away that you off the top of your head.
I've got plenty to choose from, but
all right.
I don't
Yeah,
have
I'm okay with anyone too, but nothing. Yeah, nothing that jumps out either. So we'll probably mention on Twitter as you guys follow us what our next one will be in 2 weeks. Other than that, if you since you guys are on my channel right now for the exclusive non-video game-esque top 5s, we do have Shovelware episode 1 up for the game show. So everybody wants to watch that one to get ready for episode 2. That's going to happen next month. We are still looking for 2 contestants, so don't be afraid to message me if you are interested, and I can start doing that because someone's going to have to take out our champion at the moment, DJ Access, because he said he is for sure in, and he is going to be the defending champion until someone can dethrone him, which we are looking for 2 competitors for that part. Super Jank Fighter is going to be in the next week or 2, probably week. I'm just trying to figure out which exact game I want to do. I think after this weekend watching some of the gameplay, I think I know what game I'm going to first start out with. I just got to figure out the flow of the show and how I want to do it because doing gameplay is fun and all, but I like more doing like talking to people and talking about games like that. So like doing gameplay with doing that, and it takes an audience to do it. So fighting games are a niche thing, and it is a little bit hard for people to watch people play fighting games. So I do understand that. But other than that, that's going to be the next big show that I'm going to be doing with Top 5 and Shovelware. And then, yeah, that's about it. But just like the video like this. Don't be afraid in chat or the comment section to give us ideas. If you guys want to be on the show too in chat and you don't know any of us, because again, we do have a kind of a decent following on the Melee stuff. Don't be afraid to talk to us. Myself, Neil's probably gonna say the same thing. We can get you on the show because again, the guests is the life of the show, and we couldn't be here without the guests. So we do appreciate everybody that does come on the show.
Yeah, if it was just Jason and I ranking our top 5 stuff, the show would not be as fun as it is.
Nope.
So if anyone wants to come on and do top 5, let us know. We'll get you on. And let us know if you have any ideas. And whether you want to be on that one, you can just give us ideas and not want to be on it, or you can give us ideas and want to be on it. We'll make it happen. So for me, I've got I do have an open mic scheduled on Thursday at 6:00 Pacific with someone I have not talked to before. He just showed up in my chat in a couple of recent streams and wanted to come on, and that is Christian Freights. And it looks like he's we became friends on Twitter, and I saw that he's friends with a lot of people that I'm friends with. So we should have a great discussion on Thursday. No idea what we're going to be talking about, as is the idea behind open mic, but that'll be I'm sure it'll be fun. And then on Saturday is the return of Party Chat after basically a 7-week hiatus. So we'll come back with Party Chat, and the guest host is going to be Alec Baldwin's finger. And I don't have any of the topics figured out yet, except for one. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting back to that because it's been way too long since I've had Party Chat, and I'm looking forward to that. So, and lastly, before we head on out here, thank you everyone who came and hung out with us for 5 seconds or, nearly 4 hours.
5 minutes. Yeah, exactly.
Duke Devil, Insidious Bliss, Melee K, Angry Canadian. He's probably catching up right now. Let's see here. Who else do we have? Paul was here, forking around. Thank you all for joining us tonight. We will see you guys all later. I know this isn't my channel, but in the meantime, game on.